Right, g'day, hi and welcome. Okay, I'm gonna put the heat down. I shut it right off. It's actually kind of hot in here. What is it, 20? Let's see now. Everything went up. It's only 19 degrees, but it's 23% humidity. So at least the humidity's starting to return back into the house a little bit. Like in the summer, it's like 60-70% humidity in here all summer, right? If you leave the windows closed, probably 100%, which is no good. It'll rot your house, right? Wintertime, 20%. Those baseboard heaters, they really dry out. Plus all the work I've done in here, it really dries things out. So, all right, let's just jump into it. Before we do, though, I gotta show you something. Yesterday was Friday after making this video, and I started a new, because I finished off The Bride Collector the day before. Now my second favorite book. My top favorite book right now is The Sword of Kagan, but this one might take the cake. Some disturbing stuff in. I'm 90 pages in, guys. 90 pages in. This is a freaking chunk of a book. So far, like every page is a page turner. Some really disturbing stuff in there so far. But also some really cool, like really good stories so far. Kind of distracts from all the craziness around the world. So it is the ice capades out there today. There is so much ice out there because it rained all night last night, and we are March 7th, 6th, 7th, and I gotta say, feels like spring out there, and I gotta say, it's the ice capades out there. So yeah. Anyway, before we get into the big news, yes, I have not seen Marvin now in about 2.5 weeks. I'm sure I heard him running around, but I haven't seen him. And the squirrel at the store is still at large. Apparently that big rat trap that I lent them, he was able to eat the peanut butter off of it without setting it off. A little bugger. So they're going to have to play around with that trap. As in there, again, guys, a good barometer of the world we live in is the attention span of normies, right? And like most people, you remember that show? It was a kid's show on either SCTV, YTV, where Erie, Indiana, where there's always like something going on, and the adults are always completely like oblivious. You know what I mean? They're like boomer logic oblivious. Right. Well, that's most people you're around, right? They're either boomer logic, living in la la land, not a clue of what's really going on in the world other than what the news tells them, or they're your age or younger, and they're the sports ball people that that's all that matters. The sports ball because I don't care about politics because whatever. They're always in escapism mode, right? There's that. And then there's people like you walking around and go, people, hello, we're all about to fucking die. Do something. That's nice. That's nice, Reggie. Nice child. Yeah. Go play now. Fuck, I tried. But now I got normies going, holy shit, everything's going to get expensive. This war's going to fuck us up bad. I said, yeah, you better prepare. Yeah. So when the normies are freaking out, okay, then you're unfortunately you're vindicated, but it also tells you how far we have to go before that happens. The downside, what's going to happen? I'll get into some of the World War III stuff in a second. I don't know what to make this video, a World War III update or a This Week in World Crazy, because last night it was kind of more of the same, but nothing significant that I could find happening. It's not like everything has died down, but I think we're at that point in the war where phase one is sort of done for the Iranians. It's like, okay, well, we've hit all the things we wanted to hit. What are the secondary targets? Like they're probably looking. That's why you see these stops and whatever. Trump was out there saying they still have like 200 to 400 launchers left or something like that. That's a lot. Right? And again, yes, Iran is getting hammered by airstrikes like crazy. These tunnels are getting hit by the tunnel's like a 5-hour bulldozer excavation away from being open. So unless you get inside the tunnels and blow the shitballs out of all the weaponries in there and all the rockets. Um, and I think a lot of these tunnels are just a distraction, to be honest with you. It's like, yeah, because there's a lot of fake tunnel entrances. Look, decoys are not new. I think the Iranians knew that. Okay, well, let's get them to expend a lot of bombs on a lot of like nothing. So yeah, they're painting F-14s on the tarmac and the helicopters and stuff like that. There's like dummy radars. There's that stuff. I mean, they are hitting real stuff, but it's the same in Ukraine. Like every time you hear of an S-300 getting hit, 9 times out of 10, it's a piece of fabric. Like it's one of those. Like those bouncy castles. It's like those. Yeah, they're literally decoys. This has been going on since World War One, World War Two. Like put fake, particularly World War Two, with the inflated tanks. You blow up a tank and it looks like a tank from the air. By the time they strafe it, they wasted all that ammo. It's only if there's no secondary explosion where they could tell whether or not it was fake. But even at that in Ukraine, like a lot of times, either side, they drone something and they don't, like it's mannequins and stuff like that, like all these. And you'd say, well, how can they not spot these things? Because there's a few reasons. Reason number one is the equipment that you play in the video games is not how it works in real life. It's not that easy. It's not, oh, there's my target, bang, I detected in the tree line in the middle of the jungle 500 miles away and I could just fire a missile, lock onto a fire missile away. It takes probably 10 to 15 minutes just to figure out what you're shooting at. And then you've got to actually guide the damn weapon to the target half the time. A lot of stuff is automated now, but it's still difficult. You have to discern, is that the target? Okay, is it this building or is it that building? Okay, from the air, okay, we have to check 3 times just to make sure we're hitting the right building. And it takes time, even by today's standards. That's why, like pilots, they leave, they don't come back for 10 hours. It's a half an hour, it's an hour there, an hour back, but 10 minutes over the target. But, you got to wait for the drones, you got to wait for this to coordinate, that to coordinate. The Iranians are shooting down drones left, right, and center. It seems that's where they're focusing their air defense, which is kind of smart because if you shoot down the drones, okay, and there's a lack of drones, then you have to send the aircraft over, and then you're more likely to shoot down the aircraft when it's over target, right? Because yes, stuff is getting hit in Iran, but these are standoff weapons. These are weapons firing from 100 miles out, kind of thing, using drones to do the targeting, right? But at that, they're doing the Roadrunner method of like painting a fake entrance on a wall for the coyote to smack into. Yeah, that's happening. That's happening. Stuff like that. So, how much of that's happening, I don't know. But maybe we'll say a few percentages of the bomb drops are hitting fake targets. So it's still burning up resources, right? So that said, yes, the Iranians are getting hammered. I know. I stick to what I'm saying. The Iranian strategy is better. It's just better. It's lower tech. It works no matter what. They're going to win. They've already kind of sort of won, right out the gate because, I mean, was it just to put it into perspective? Okay, in 1991 Desert Storm. Okay, Saddam Hussein had one of the largest militaries in the world. Okay. And the weapons of mass destruction and the Gulf War ensued. The rocket forces of the Republican Guard fired maybe a total of like 50 scuds in the entire conflict in a month, right? Hardly worth mentioning. The Iranians fire that in a single volley, right? So, and they're on volley number 24, 25, like they've attacked, like we're just counting the Israeli volley, not all the other regions. And the fact that they've hit like 15 or 20 different countries and like 27 US bases and other bases and they've hit thousands of targets. Yeah, but they're just a third world country that, the Iranian military has no capability. Are you fucking kidding me? That is capabilities. And again, they send out a rocket, not an aircraft. You know, the rocket doesn't have to come back. The aircraft does. You don't have to, like you only have to make sure the rocket's in firing condition once. That's it. The aircraft that come back, like right now, a lot of people say, oh, it's because the slowdown in the pace of the bombing campaigns and everything like that is because the Iranians are running out of rockets. It's like, no, that's not it. What's happening is the 250 aircraft that the Americans have put in on the beginning are probably now due for maintenance. You're not going to fly an F-18 or a Super Hornet for 10 hours a day, for like a week and not have it grounded due to maintenance. Same with the F-35s and everything like that. So they're going to have to, like, rotations are taking place. U.S. troops are getting ready for a ground invasion. That's very clear. You're seeing people being moved all over the place. If they're going to go willingly to the slaughter, like when these guys come back and say, I got PTSD, I had my arms and legs blown off, blah, blah, blah. Don't bitch. Now's your time to defy your captain or your commander or whatever. And say, I'm not going, this is an illegal war. That would be a crimes gate. Yes, you'll go to jail, you'll lose your career, whatever, you'll lose your paycheck, but you won't lose your life. Right? And we need there's no brave law enforcement military. They don't exist. They go along with the system all the time. There might be acts of valor that they do in battle, sure, fine. But like as far as sticking up for the people and world peace and stuff like that, no, they're not defending the United States. The United States is the aggressor. They're the ones that attacked on behalf of Israel. You are attacking, it's a Jewish war. It's a holy war. It's a Zionist evangelical war. I do not call these people Christians. They are not Christians. Unfortunately, they're going to basically destroy Christianity because people are going to say, well, if that's what Christians are about, fuck that, I'm not in it. But yeah, something I wasn't aware of is the Jewish lobby versus like AIPAC and stuff like that, which is big. Everybody goes on about that. But I wasn't even really thinking. I've always talked about it, but I didn't realize just how big they were. But like the evangelical for Israel or for Zionism or whatever they call it, I forget what it's called. You see this lady around Trump all the time. Like I say, Trump is a Zionist evangelical doomer. Just watch how he is around the evangelical. It's the blonde lady that's sitting there with the Tourette's. Kill Israel's kill. Like she just goes, yeah, strike them down, Lord, strike them down. Like she just sits there ranting, right? In tongues. Like she speaks in tongues, right? So how Christian is that, right? That's not very Christian. What was it? So another thing to be angry at Trump for, okay, is not only is he going to destroy every right-wing movement across the planet, the same way Nigel Farage kind of like torpedoed his own boat, and now you got Stalinist Starmer there, who fucking no idea what he's doing. He's in it. He's not in it. We're going. We're not going. Carney's doing the same. Like everybody doesn't know what to do. They're like Carney. At least he's kind of like, well, we might have to like help people in the region. Like help Canadians get back home, stuff like that. But no, nobody's asked us to participate, so we're not going to be participating. It's not, it's not something that I see ourselves doing. So he's trying to find a way out of this without getting a tirade from Trump, right? Plus, I mean, he's probably smart enough to know that we don't want our military overseas when the Americans attack us, right? Because it's coming. It might be like the Iranian war is going to distract the Americans for a little while. But the American people, yeah, you're feeling it already. You're feeling it. How the fuck can gas prices go up in Canada when, we're oil we should be completely oil independent? Well, I'll tell you how. It's called OPEC, the petrodollar. That's why. That's why gas prices are going up around the world, particularly here in Canada and in the States, because of Trump and his administration, and because of Israel. That's why it's going up. You could say, well, it's because the Iranians are doing all this damage. It's they're the aggressors. No, they're not. They're responding. They're retaliating. Retaliation. This is the gaslighting you get from Israel all the time. Is that, oh, why are people always attacking us? well, because you preemptively attack people, and they have this idea that when we attack you, they lash out in pain as they strike you, as they say. Uh, they attack you, and you're not supposed to respond because no, we attacked you. Now we're satisfied. Go about your business, and it's like there is no fucking logic to that. If anybody attacks anybody, the other guy gets the right to kick the shit out of you. It's not like, well, yeah, but they're overdoing it. Well, if you go hit a hornet's nest, you can't complain when the hornets come out and sting you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but I only hit it once. They're hitting me 10 times or 100 times. That's not the point. The deterrent should be, thou shalt not preemptively hit shit. Like, let's add that onto the let's make that the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not do preemptive strikes on people, which globally every government in the world should have agreed to that no preemptive strikes on anybody. Look, the Democrats are going to sweep the midterms for sure, and you're never going to see a right-wing government again in the United States. So the amount of communism that you guys are about to go under is, like, again, blame Trump. People are very pissed. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, everybody's angry, right? Because most people have no idea. Like I say, the normies, like, they never see anything like this coming. When people like me have been saying, yeah, they're going to do it. It's just when, And it's not, a broken clock is right twice a day. It's just like, no, this isn't, like, it was an educated assessment that says that Israel, at some point, when they could get the upper hand, they were going to go and try to destroy Iran. They told us they were going to do this. This is what, again, General Wesley Clark, back in 2009, told us everything out loud. They say the quiet part out loud, people still can't understand. They're like, well, that's just conspiracy theory. No, they told you. They've been telling you that this was going to happen for over 100 years. I mean, maybe not exactly this, but the Albert Pike thing. We're going to have 3 world wars, and in the 3rd World War, we're going to basically destroy Islam and Zionism, and Christianity will become, because nobody's going to want to be a Christian after, because the evangelicals are going to fuck everything up. And then, Satanism and secularism can rule. That's basically, Albert Pike wasn't a clairvoyant. He was just telling you what the plan was. The same way General Wesley Clark, whether he was in on it or not, he blurted the quiet part out loud. Yeah, we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. Now they're already talking about, like the Israelis are always like, well, this is a done deal. We're going to win no matter what. And when we're done, Turkey's next on the list. I've been telling you guys for at least a decade that Turkey and Germany were going to go to war, and Greece and Spain as well. That is probably going to be on behalf of Israel, because I could see Turkey and Israel getting into a tiff because of the Kurdish situation, right? So now it's making more sense to people. Like, oh, fuck, okay, the dots are connecting on the radar here, you know what I mean? See the bigger picture. But we'll have to wait for that. But I don't think it's going to easily get to that, because I think there's been such a blunder on behalf of the United States. Like, nobody expected this kind of volleys, and again, yes, they're slowing down right now. Sure, the Americans have destroyed some launchers. You can't believe a single thing Trump says. Like, the guy can't even get a story straight on why you're at war, right? He can't just come out well, actually, that's the bizarre part. They even came out and told you it's a holy war. It's Armageddon. We're sending out emails to all the people. This is the mindset you're dealing with, right? Where they're like, yeah, when we tell them that this is the holy war and Jesus is coming back, they'll be so happy to fight and die for Israel. And they got a hard fuck. No, we're not doing it. Can you imagine how demoralizing that is got to be for the U.S. troops? Which, again, like I said, the rebel groups were going to start to move in on these motels where the Americans are staying, and they are. I don't know. Again, what is the death toll? I don't know. The Iranians say, well, it's definitely more than 6, because we hit a base the other night and there was 160 people there, and we know for sure we killed 40. So we're probably talking about 4,000 or 5,000 people dead already of just U.S. troops. Maybe about 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 civilians have probably been killed. I mean, how many civilians are getting killed in Iran from U.S. bombs? Look, it is now confirmed that the U.S. bombed the school. They hit targets, IRGC targets that were close to it, right? And again, why collateral damage? They don't care who dies. They'll kill 1,000 people just to get one guy. It used to be if there was more than, this is why Canadian pilots didn't just bomb willy-nilly in Libya. We did something like 600 sorties, and we came back a lot of times with our bombs because the Geneva Convention thing was basically if you see more than something like, at first it was like 10 civilians, you couldn't hit your target, right? Because the collateral damage would have been too high. Then it went up to 30, then to 36, and then it's like weapons free. If there's a bad guy there, you can kill 1,000 people, right? So if you had like a known terrorist at a wedding, you couldn't kill all the people at the wedding just to kill the one terrorist. Now you can. It's so this is the logic that we have now. So it's a total war. Everything's a target. Well, when the other guys do it, it's bad, but when we do it, it's fine. Well, no. The other guys aren't going to agree. And it doesn't matter if you hold that kind of double standard. The Iranians are still going to hit you back. Look, they're saying, look, when the troops come, we're ready for them. My hunch is that it'll be a 3-1 victory for the Iranians. Even if they lose 10-1, okay, you're talking a 1 million man army now. And plus, people like Iranians are like rallying around the flag like you would. Like it's an existential survival. This is their 1776, 9/11, and Pearl Harbor all in one, right? They see, and again, around the world, everybody knows the Americans are the bad guys. They know Israel is the bad guys. Like there's no way to spin it now. You can't gaslight it anymore. It doesn't matter if you do anyway. People can see it when you have Tucker Carlson, okay. Who's been, kind of riding the fence to kind of like he just, well, I can't just come out and say it's the Jews, right? You can't. But now he's like, yeah, it's the fucking Jews. You know what I mean? Like, and then what are you gonna call him, a far right Nazi? Like it's like you guys just started fucking, World War III. Like we're gonna hold you to account. But see, Jews are never allowed to be held to account, and that's the problem. Up here in Canada, unfortunately, we got our first Jewish Supreme Court judge, a female, of course. Yeah, that's going to go well. Yeah, it just everything goes in the wrong fucking direction. Like it's just, it's just so fucking frustrating, right? So it's like, but if you're an American, you need to know this. Look, this is why, like I say, I have to cover some of the economic stuff here. I haven't been able to follow all the things that's going on with Canada and Australia. Some sort of a deal made there. Obviously, we did some sort of big deal in India. The only thing I heard out of it was $100 million going to like India for building schools or something like. I don't want to send fucking money to India. I want to send Indians back to India. That's it. We don't need them all here. And I definitely don't want to pay for their fucking schooling when we can barely afford our own. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. But that said, the Canadian economy and the oil industry is on the uptick on a lot of areas, but we still have the everything crisis. Like I said, the Canadian economy is good, bad, and gamble, right? So Carney's been gambling to see if he could outrun the collapse of the United States. I don't know if we're going to make it or not. I think we're going to take a massive, massive hit from this war. I think everybody is. But how are the Americans doing? Well, the Americans are doing absolutely horrible. So the February numbers that were supposed to be in the positive actually got revised down 29,000 jobs. So you lost 29,000 jobs. And so every month they do the same thing. Oh no, every jobs report they do. Oh, we're up by this many jobs. And then when they revise it, they quietly tell you about 2 months later that no, you've been losing jobs. Okay. Look, you lost 10 million jobs under Biden. I don't know what it is under Trump, but it's going to be probably 20 to 30 million jobs probably lost under Trump. It's just everything. Like I am not finding a single economic win. especially over the past couple of weeks, right? Couple of months. But pretty much since he's taken office, it's just been the only wins you got were stuff that were already decided before he got into office. Deals that were already pre-done and just finishing up. So Trump would say, "Oh no, look at this, we just finished up the deal," right? But that deal was going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? It was already in the works, and some of the people have backed out of that. The venture capital is not coming into the United States in the way people think it is. Like the world elites, the world elites are crazy. They put all their eggs in the basket for the climate change stuff. Failed. Now it's the AI stuff. It's like. And speaking of that, the Iranians hit, forget which Gulf state it was, but they hit a Google AI data center worth like $11 billion or something. Like just an obscene amount of fucking economic hit there. This is what Iran is now hitting. Like they're destroying the world economy. They're like, no, you're gonna fuck with us. We're gonna fuck with you. We're gonna fuck with everybody. And everybody's gonna blame Israel and the United States, and rightfully so. Right? People will be mad at the Iranians, but you attack them. Like I say, you hit the hornet's nest. You can't complain about all the hornets coming out and hit you. Oh, I only hit the nest once. That's not the point. That's not the point. Look, the Iranians, they've got the Yemenis. I think they just took out a tanker with drone boats, so now you got oil spilling all over. Again, it's like the disaster is not just the economics; it's like that whole area of ocean is going to be covered in oil slick. You know what I mean? It's going to be like World War II. So just think of all these tankers. No matter how old they are, even if they're $1 million tankers, that adds up. All these airliners, sitting there all shrapneled on the fucking tarmac. All these airports getting fucking shut down. The loss of revenue there. But that said, from the lack of tourism in the United States from Canada, because we were your number one tourist, tourism is down so much that airline companies have they're diverting their airliners to other places. You've lost, just this month alone, 92,000 jobs. Okay, even on 340 million people or whatever, that is a hit. That is a hit. It's not enough to crash the economy, but you're well over 120,000 jobs lost in two months. If anybody's like, look, the United States is in a recession for sure. There were, like this, we're not sure if they're in a recession because the Dow's at 50,000. The Dow, the stock market, that's all bullshit. That's all fucking propped up. It's bad news, it goes up. It's good news, it goes up. Like it's all overinflated. It's the basically that's your wealth being like your retirement being bailing out the fucking world leaders. That's all we're doing. That's all the stock market is. It's just basically the ultimate form of usury. It's gambling. I'm sure weapons industry stocks are going to do well, right? Trump's like, Lockheed Martin said that they were Raytheon or whoever, they're going to increase production. Yeah, of course they're going to tell them that. What does increased production look like? What, an extra 2 F-35s a month? You know what I mean? An extra 10 missiles a month? Like, guys, like you can't just step on the accelerator pedal and increase production. It doesn't work like that. Okay, yeah, sure, you can increase the conveyor belt, but you're going to get to a point where it's like you're going to be waiting stuff. Why? Because you need materials to build shit. Right? And that's a big problem right now for many countries, is that, because we've deindustrialized so much in so many different countries, we've got to rebuild all that shit, right? And you can't just flick a switch and replenish your stocks. It doesn't work like that. Like Trump is very simple-minded in that sense. He's not a stupid man. He's retarded in a lot of fucking ways. His ego is the worst thing. He's a psychopath in that, like a self-centered psychopath in that sense. He doesn't care who dies, clearly. Yeah, I mean, Um, but he's one of those guys like he can't even take yes for an answer. You know what I mean? Like the Iranians were doing a deal, a peace deal, and things were looking good. Whether you believe the Iranians or you didn't believe the Iranians wasn't the issue. The issue is during the peace deal they were attacked again. So they're never like the Iranians, they're not coming back to the table. They're like, look, okay, we're not coming to the table. Here's what we're going to send. You get out of the Middle East. The Israelis have to leave Gaza. They have to leave Gaza alone, and you have to drop all the sanctions, stuff that the States is never going to go for, right? So they're just like, well, like it's not like we're going to get anything out of this anyway, so we might as well just cut it off, right? So either here's our do this, or we're not even interested in talking to you. And look, if the Iranians, again, I'm still wondering what the North Koreans helped with. Did they send data to the Iranians to say, here's how you miniaturize a nuke? They probably already have it. Look, my hunch is that the Iranians already have nukes. They probably would have just bought them from North Korea or whatever. The North Koreans and the Iranians have been working together for decades, right? This is not new. So if they don't, again, maybe North Korea, they got some warheads to spare. So everybody's talking about the Samson option. Will the Israelis use the Samson option if they're losing too much? Because, you got to think the Israelis are getting hammered. And that's not a big country. Like Tehran is probably the size of Israel itself. You know what I mean? Israel's only like 140 miles long by 70 miles wide. And, it's mostly desert, right? Handful of cities there. 7 to 9 million people. The Iranians are going to vaporize those people. And, if the Israelis do a nuke, okay, it's the end of Jews around the world. It will be the end of Jews around the world. We're already in the 110th explanation of Jews. Not that I'm calling for it. I'm just saying if you can't see it, again, when Hegseth is out there telling you it's a holy war, he's not lying. He's not lying. These people are crazy, and it's not just him. It's on all sides. Like there's again, think of it. You could, prophecy versus forcing the hand. Well, these people, because they want the messiahs, they're messiahs and all this. The Jews want the Mashiach. The Muslims want the Al-Mahdi. The Christians want Jesus. So there's a forcing of the hand here. So this is again an orchestrated holy war. The more people that die, the happier they'll be. These people are insane, right? So it's not just one faction; it's all of them. And the thing about it is that the how do we stop it part comes down to the military. The problem is the military, they just follow orders no matter what, even if they're illegal orders. Look, if you can get the U.S. pirate Navy to just blow gunboats out of the boats out of the water without any sort of due process or even knowing who they're killing, and then on top of that, circle the ship back because there was survivors and you went and did what they call a double tap, where you hit them again to make sure you killed them off while they're swimming in the water. That's what we're up against, so, if the Iranians come out ahead on this one, yes, we could see, Minuteman missiles being fired at Israel, at Iran. But the second those nukes go off, Russia and China are ready to retaliate. The Russians, are warning the Israelis, do not use nukes. Do not nuke Iran. That'll be very bad for you if you do. And if we survive this, the good news is Israel won't survive this. I mean, it's sad that all those people are going to die, but if they're all that fucking brainwashed and insane, you know what I mean? I know it's not all of them, but you know what I mean? It's a cancer on the earth at this point. I mean, what else can you call them? If you're going to do that, like these people are insane. Is Trump going to use nuclear weapons on Iran, B-61 nukes? I don't know. But if he does, again, I don't think Trump's going to be around that much longer, no matter what, because, and again, not making any threats, but it's really, I don't see how. I'm still saying it's going to be a U.S. veteran that is going to assassinate him. It's not that I'm calling for that. It's just that is, if you look at what veterans are saying right now, they are pissed. Look, the guy that got his arm broke, that guy with a chest full of medals who fought for his country, to have, like, you know what I mean? Like that there probably, listen to all the veterans. Like, they have tears in their eyes when they're talking about this. How dare you treat one of our veterans like this? Like, it's not the same as a blue-haired Antifa protester, right? This was a guy in full uniform, stating his opinion, who gets tackled right away the second he objects to Israel. And again, it's Israel's war of aggression. It is. Yes, they're using the United States as the hammer, but it's just because the United States is controlled by the Israel. That's pretty easy to see. When 2/3 of your Congress are dual citizenship Israelis, wonder what's going to happen, right? Are they America first? I don't fucking think so. This is why you can't have dual citizens of any type in your government at high levels. It's a conflict of interest. We have the same problem here in Canada. Why do you think there's so many Indians here? You know what I mean? They're sweeping the place. You know what I mean? They're taking over. It's a mess. It's a nightmare. But again, like, these people want Armageddon. They're going to take us to the, they're going to nuke things. You know what I mean? And that's going to have global consequences. You can't just irradiate places. There's trade winds. That stuff's going to come here. Like, all the people in the Middle East are going to be subjected to that. It's a genocide. And it'll be a genocide on behalf of Israel and the United States. Now, that said, maybe the Iranians do have nukes and they counter. If they do, again, goodbye Israel. But I don't, like I said, the Iranians don't really need nukes to destroy Israel. The rockets will do just fine. And they are pacing themselves with the rockets. That's, again, the way the strategy, like, as soon as you see a little bit of a let up, people think, oh, that's it, they're running out of weapons. It doesn't work like that. They've got lots of weapons. The Americans have got lots of weapons. The high-tech stuff is running out in Israel. That's clear. Like, the Iron Dome stuff is, and the David Sling and the Arrow. Yeah, those missiles are not very big stockpiles. You'll burn through them within a week or two. That's why the first round was only 12-day war, because that's all the Israelis could muster. And using the old stuff, while it's not as reliable, it doesn't work as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, at some point, those low-tech rockets are getting to be unstoppable. They don't have to send out barrages of 200 rockets at a time anymore, unless they're taking out a big target like an air base or something like that. But now they're just kind of like picking off buildings. Oh, there's a data center. Hit it. Why? That'll hurt them economically. Saudi Arabia is like trying to negotiate with Iran and the back channels. It's going to be simple. Kick them out of your country, or else we're going to keep hitting you. France, their base got hit. The UK, their base got hit. Like, how do, and again, you say, well, they're going to get pulled into the war. No, because globally, the citizenry around the world, American citizens on the left, and particularly on the right, I know a lot of the left-wingers don't believe this, but most people that voted for Donald Trump did not vote for this. Stop saying that, because it's not true. I get it. You hate right-wingers. That's fine. But at least be genuine. Trump basically got elected to be an anti-war president. And where was the left when Obama was doing these things? He just didn't do it to this level of craziness, but he was doing these things. The whole Syria, like, look, they're trying to get all the Syrian rebels. Again, remember when I told you they armed ISIS to overthrow Assad? Well, who do you think all these groups are that they're trying to get now to fight the Iranians, right? The Kurdish groups are split. Some are saying, yeah, we're ready for revenge because the Iranians hit us and we're going to go hit them, whatever. But it's not going to work, right? And the rest of them are like, nah, we're just going to sit out of it. like we're not taking on Iran. Like, fuck no. Like, not even close. You know, it's like, because the difference with the Iranians and fighting the Americans don't care about the Kurds or anything like that, or who they kill. But, you know, like, the average U.S. pilot is, yeah, he's in it to destroy targets, but he's not in it to win the war. You know what I mean? He's just like, oh, good, I get to go blow stuff up that I've been training, you know, the last past, you know, 5 or 10 years to go blow up, right? You know, like, it's not a holy war for the half the people that have to fight it, right? It's just, hey, we're here, we're fighting. You know what I mean? But the people that are ordering it, again, don't worry. None of these world leaders, none of their children are going to have to go and fight. You know, they will be safe. Don't worry. Their retirement and their stocks are doing, portfolios are doing fine. Right? Again, with all the insider trading, they would know how to short the market on this one. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the thing is that, you know, like, the lie can't be sustained at this point. Like, this is it. I'm just hoping that when the left does take power again in the States, which is going to be fucking annoying with all the pronouns and all that shit, and the hate speech laws and the censorship, and here we go again. Well, it's never left, but, you know, it's going to go to the extreme. Like, the gulags are coming now. So, like, either way, the end result of it, you know, the long story short is the United States ends up in an actual shooting civil war. Because the right-wingers are not going to tolerate a betrayal of Trump again. They're not going to vote for him again. And Trump, even if he is to survive to the end of the year, I think he'll probably be removed out of office. He can't step down because the second he does, he's going to jail. But if he stays in there, again, most likely the veterans are going to get him. But again, this is kind of like the movie Smoking Aces. Everybody, all the crazies are going to be coming at him at once, right? Again, you reap what you sow. You piss everybody off. Okay, great. You got the Maduro raid because you bribed people, bribe people to, bribe cartels to help you overthrow them. But you didn't pay those people. They're going to come looking for their fucking money. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like the CIA is pure evil too. You know what I mean? Like the FBI, the CIA, like this. Oh yeah, but there's good ones in there. I'm not seeing it. You know, when they keep doing the bidding of the state, that is just horrible to the people, getting us in these endless wars. Look, this was only supposed to be a 3-day war. It's always the same every time. Oh, we'll be in Iran is nothing. We'll destroy them in like 5 seconds. And clearly, no, Iran can clearly fight back. Because like I said, and I've been telling you guys this for at least a decade or more, that Iran is going to be the most advanced country you've ever fought. Doesn't mean they're the most advanced in the world. What it means is that they, like, Saddam Hussein was the most, Iraq was the most powerful and advanced military that the Americans had fought since World War II. The Vietnam, yeah, they had air defense and stuff like that, but they didn't have the firepower that Saddam had, right? And that said, you could add Vietnam and Iraq together, okay, and they would need about 10 times that to equivocate to what Iran has. Iran is like second world. Like, look, they're reverse engineered 60s and 70s technology from the States, right? So you're talking like AIM-54 missiles, the Phoenix missile, modified and upgraded. You're talking about, S-200, S-300 systems. The export model of the S-300 is not as good as the Russian one, I'm sure, but you're talking stuff like that. And then all their domestic stuff is just derivatives of the Chinese, Russian, North Korean stuff, and it's getting better and better. So even if it's only half as good as what the Americans have, half as good makes that much of a difference on the battlefield. You know what I mean? That's it. Like half as good is that close, right? Like a T-90 tank is not inferior to a state of the art Abrams tank. It's not inferior. It's whoever gets the first shot is probably going to get the first kill, and you might have to shoot at each other 4 or 5 times to get a natural kill shot. You know what I mean? Like it's really not. Like an F-35 against a MiG-29. Yes, it has a lot of advantages, right? But if they get into a swirling dogfight, the better pilot's going to win. You know what I mean? Because at a certain range, like about 15 kilometers out or whatever, your stealth doesn't really count for much. Because at that point you're too big of a target. It's an advantage, but it's not the advantage you think. And under 10 kilometers out, 1960s missiles will hit you. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not going to be as reliable or whatever, but they're going to hit you. You know what I mean? They're going to hit you. So right now, I think what we're at, the phase we're at, is that Iran has hit the big stuff. They've overwhelmed the Iron Domes enough that they could slow down the rate and be a little bit more strategic. Because if they slow down, like if they fire volleys of 30 rockets, but there's nothing to intercept them, well, they only have to fire a rocket per target, right? Maybe 2, depending on the size of the target. And buildings are getting whacked. Embassies are getting whacked. I mean, even if you're saying, yeah, but our soldiers are not dying. Yeah, but how many civilians are dying? You know what I mean? Like, you have to factor that, and you say, well, that's all on Iran. No, these are American civilians. When you hit an American base or an embassy, yes, there's going to be locals on there. There's no doubt about that. But it's going to also be filled with your citizens. So what you're saying is that a soldier is more valuable than an ambassador, is what you're saying, right? Where I say a citizen is a citizen, right? So if you're killing my citizens, you're killing my citizens. And again, all these troops that thought they were going to be smart and say, okay, yeah, well, when Iran hits the bases, we won't be there. Ha, ha, ha. We'll go back and rebuild. Well, number one, those bases are done. They're never going to have U.S. boots on there ever again. Because like they're undefendable now, right? And the thing is the rebel groups are now encircling, like I said they would. They're going to start to encircle the motels, which, never mind whether the guys are in there armed or not. Like, I mean, it's just like, okay, we're going to encircle them. They can't run. Like, I mean, a big blue-eyed white guy running down the street is going to stand out, in the Middle East, right? You're not going to be able to hide. These guys, like Americans are going to stand out. And the thing about it is that you're going to be encircled, you won't be able to leave, and the rockets are going to come in. So they're going to finish you off with the rockets. At that point, like I don't know how many Americans were killed in these drone, especially these Shahed drones. Like, these things are just fucking devastating. I think they're worse than the rockets. To me right now, if you add up Ukraine and you add up what's going on, the Shahed drone has probably been one of the most successful weapons ever fielded. Like, artillery does not have these kill rates. Like, these drones are like a 1 in 3 kill rate. You know what I mean? And about 80% of them get through. So it's just like, wow. Like, even artillery, you have to fire about 10,000 rounds just to kill one guy. Bullets, it's like 130,000, 140,000 rounds to kill one guy. That's how much firepower is required. These things, 1 in 3. These drones, 1 in 3. It's nuts. So why isn't it working the other way? Why isn't it, okay, the aircraft carrier full of these drones instead of fighter jets? Well, there's a couple of things. You have to factor in the fact of, like, the esoteric part of sacrifice, right? The Jews like to sacrifice people, like in their religion, right? In parts of their religion. And it's not all of them, I know that, but there is a satanic element of it. But there's biblical things of it that, blood sacrifice. It's called the Holocaust, right? Where you burn flesh and meat. It's in the Bible, like, basically Exodus is just Holocaust, 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 Holocaust. right? And it's basically a ritual, right? So killing these girls, what the Iranians are saying is like this is a part of their. It's the Epstein. They call them the Epstein class. Basically, this is a bloodletting ritual for them. Instead of bleeding a cow or a chicken, we're going to bleed people, right? It's the same. And plus, you know, if you look at, you know, like the blood moon just passed or whatever. So, you know, every time, like all the what you call it, the occultists come out at that point. I'm not saying every Jew is a cultist, but I'm saying there is that element is in there, and it's not just the Jews. You know, like these evangelicals are probably in on it too. You know, because whatever the chosen people say to do, they'll do, right? And again, I know it's not all of them, you know, but it's the majority of them are for this, right? So the majority of Israelis are okay with, you know, carpet bombing children in Gaza, right? They're okay with that. They're okay with killing Iranian children. You know, it's now, you know, confirmed that the U.S. or Israel did bomb this. You know, they killed these kids in the school, and it was like 160 people killed. The girls were between 8 and 12 years old. So that is not, like, Americans are just absolutely, like, the American public is just absolutely appalled at that. Which I hate to kick you when you're down, but you have to understand 1.5 million Iraqis died this way. The difference is we didn't have the internet to show you in real time what was going on, right? But that happened all over Iraq and Afghanistan for the past 19 years. You know, like again, it's what Max Kaiser said. The Americans have a death and debt-based economy. You take their democracy JDAMs, or you take their petrodollar, or they drop democracy JDAMs on you. But right now, it's even worse than that, because it's like, well, Israel told us to kill you. So, you know, this is why, yes, you're going to have a full-out, boots-on-the-ground war. With the weaponry difference between Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam, I'm estimating that the boots on the ground is probably going to be about 5,000 people dead a day. Not on the Iranian side. Maybe it might be higher on the Iranian side, I don't know. But you have a 4 million man army that has now got to contest a 1 million man army. I don't know how you're going to paratroop these people in? Yeah, do that. That's exactly what the Iranians want. Like, paratrooping people in to take the beachhead, that's World War II. Like you cannot fight a World War II war anymore. Look, we just found out that carrier groups are really not as, yes, they're valuable, but they're not as valuable as they once were. Giant warships are obsolete. Like Trump's new battleship. That's World War II. That thing will be sunk in 5 minutes. Look, like I've said, the Iranians, what they're doing, I don't know why they haven't sunk the aircraft carriers yet. They clearly can. And they can do all three groups in one. And again, a carrier group is like 27, 28 ships, right? And I think there's now 2 more carrier groups heading to the Middle East, because again, the cost of this war, like, I think they're over $2 billion in the first couple of days. And that's just what it's costing them to run the war. Could you imagine what it's costing in losses? I mean, wow. Just the economic hits are going to be biblical. You know what I mean? So I guess when the other 2 carrier groups get there, you got the America fuck yeah type people. Yeah. They're gloating about the submarine kill and stuff like that. Okay, I get that. Yeah, makes cool footage. Yeah, you're entertained. But you have to understand at some point, these Virginia-class subs are going to get debt charged out of the water. Yes, the Iranians can do that. World War II debt charges will destroy a Virginia-class, an Ohio-class, even Seawolf. Seawolf is probably the toughest submarine ever built. But I can guarantee you get a couple of Corvettes, dropping sea mines on you, you are fucked, or debt charges on you, you are fucked. I'm talking like Flower class World War II Corvettes, right? Probably the most numerous ship in World War II. Yeah, with those little mortars, just little volleys of mortars. Those things have come a long way since World War II. The Soviet era ones, they're magnetic. The Swedish ones are not only magnetic, they're homing. They get flung off a little speedboat, about a dozen of them. They sink really fast on top of your sub, and as they come down, there's like a magnetic warhead, a magnetic thing in the warhead. It hones in, sticks to the hull, and blows about a 6-inch hole right through your sub. You can't plug that. If you get hit 3, 4, 5 times, yeah, those guys will never be able to surface fast enough. I was watching footage of an old 1968 movie called Ice. What was it called? Ice. Anyway, it was a submarine. Anyway, one of the guys opens the torpedo. The torpedo door, outer door was open, and it basically floods the torpedo bay. And the sub starts sinking. Of course, they save the boat, whatever. But they have to surface in the air. What was it called? Anyway, I was watching it. I'm just like, that's terrifying. Like they're watching the sub sinking because it's water heavy in the nose. They're trying to blow the ballast to get the thing to level out so they can climb back up. Yeah. You start blowing, like deck charging, and there's just sea mines. I don't think the Iranians have put out all their sea mines yet or have activated them. But if they've got some like high tech or even medium tech sea mines, the World War II type sea mines are deadly enough. But sea mines now, they can actually, recognize the sound signature of a warship, right? So you get your submarines out there, your little Kylos, they don't engage. I'm sure what they're doing is tailing at a good distance and just keeping tabs on where the carrier fleets are. And they've got enough subs that they could track all 11 carrier groups if they wanted without engaging. And then what they could do is a sub once a night, just in the dark, put the antenna up. They're here. Here's the range. Here's the course they're on. You can lay out sea mines ahead of them. You know what I mean? All kinds of shit can be done. I don't think you're going to see direct torpedo attacks from a Kylo sub on a carrier group unless it's partaking in they're distracted by main attacks. But it could happen. And could you imagine? Okay, all the Americans that are laughing at the Iranians that got killed on that frigate. Yeah, it's like, oh look, yeah, they're America, fuck yeah. When they see that same footage of an aircraft carrier going bow up, 5,000 people, and it just right through. Like that is going to be a morally devastating day when these aircraft carriers go down, and they're going to go down. These things are big punching bags. They're not going to go down easy. You probably have to fire at least 6 to 10 torpedoes strategically underneath it, and then even at that, it might take a week to sink. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot, but to kill everybody on board, one torpedo would probably kill, everybody on the first level. Wherever it hits, everybody within that range of the aircraft carrier is going to be vaporized. 4 good torpedoes could probably kill everybody on the ship. And again, it might sink fast. It really depends on a lot of things because, all these little chambers and doors that you got to shut off to keep the ship from sinking. It really depends on a lot of things. Like if you get a real carrier killer, a hypersonic missile, whack that thing, and then it throws little cobalt shrapnel or tungsten shrapnel through the entire ship, where it turns it into Swiss cheese. Well, yeah, it's like a spaghetti strainer sinking at that point. You'll sink within a couple of hours probably, and everybody on it. And even at that, just to evacuate the ship with 27 ships, can you get 5,000 people or 3,000 people on 27 ships? The Corvettes wouldn't be able to take more than a couple hundred people. And if you do, then you're just going to be sunk by torpedoes because you won't be able to fire back. As soon as you fire your naval gun with 2,000 people on your deck. I mean, the concussion's going to blow them off the deck. You know, everybody's going to be fucking stone deaf at the minimum. Just a concussion from that thing, right? But the ship won't be able to maneuver properly. You won't be able to fight properly. Yeah, guys, it's going to be a slaughter. And the thing is that the world leaders want this. They want these people to die. Because they're like, well, if they can sink the aircraft carrier, there'll be a rally around the flag, and then we'll get the green light to just go ahead and, bomb the shit out of, like put the, 150 B-52s or all 1,500 B-52s, whatever's left out of them, right over Tehran and just fucking carpet bomb them. Like once the carpet bombing starts, you're already the Trump administration is already now the root of all evil, right? But it's like, okay, yeah, but adjacent to that is Israel, and most people are understanding that this is Israel's war that Trump just agreed to on pretexts that keep changing. It went from, well, they're not negotiating while they're under negotiations. We're not getting a deal, which they agreed, yeah, we won't get a nuclear weapon. There you go, done deal. Which would have been a win for Trump and the MAGA people saying, yeah, we got to deal with the Iranians. Even if it would have been bullshit, at least the MAGA people could say, look, no. Trump, the peace president, no, wasn't good enough. Wouldn't take yes for an answer. The Iranians were agreeing with you, but that wasn't good enough. Then it was, well, they built roadside IDs. Well, they did shit to us 47 years ago. That is like arm's length proxies. That did it. But we'll blame that. Like the stuff they're blaming Iran for, okay. When you put it into context, okay, they killed Soleimani, not because Soleimani was this horrible guy. Sure, he wasn't a good guy. There's nobody in the Middle East in a position of power that's a good guy. You know what I mean? But you can't call the Iranians horrible and then turn a blind eye to Saudi Arabia, right? But yet Saudi Arabia is fine, right? Because they tell Israel, what they do Israel's bidding. Hence why they're getting fucking the lion's share of fucking rockets and missiles. Them in Kuwait, they're just fucking getting hammered. It's not just because they're closer. That really doesn't Israel's way further than those countries. Right? And no, Israel's getting, whacked as well. It's like the Iranians are punishing anybody that's siding with the United States. Why not? I mean, if everybody's going to help, again, if you're going to help the Israelis, you are as bad as them. That's the way they're looking at it. So, yeah, my hunch is that Iran is going to, their only thing they have to do is survive. Once they survive and the Americans lose another war, a senseless war of choice, it's just gonna, if we get out of this unscathed without nukes going off, one of the advantages will be that hopefully on the left won't turn a blind eye to their politicians anymore when these fake wars start. But left, okay, they've already, the right has been consistent, okay? Pizzagate came out, the left called it, it's just right-wing conspiracy theorists, racists, and bigots, right? Turned out, because these were FBI data that was released to the public, saying that, no, there's pedophile rings there. We've got to investigate them a bit more. Nobody goes to jail. So the Podesta files, all that. That's just these racists and bigots. Then the Epstein stuff comes out under the Obama years, right? The left, that's just the Alex Jones crazies, blah, blah, blah. And now it's, Trump's involved in it. Well, it's got to be true now. No, it was true all along. These people at the top, I don't know what it is other than evil. There's, it sounds overly simplistic, but okay, there's rich people out there that are so wealthy, you wouldn't even know, right? They don't go around killing everybody. Sure, they might be snobby to the lower classes or whatever, classist, whatever. If you want to use that term, classist, you could say that. Sure, that's always been a thing, whatever. But not all of them are out there trying to kill people. A lot of them are out there just fun in the sun on their super yacht. You know what I mean? Okay, whatever. But then you've got these other world leaders okay, they've got all the money, they've got all the power, they can have anything they want. It's not good enough. Now they have to torture people. They have like do all these fucking weird occult things. I don't know what it is about rich people and cults. Most of them just do yoga. Yoga I don't see as a cult, but there's some of them like it's like because they can't afford to go on the black market and hunt humans, they'll do it. Like the Hostel movies and stuff like they do stuff like that, and those are real. That does happen. They can go to these pedophile islands. They can go to do whatever they want. They can go to ritual sacrifice, whatever, because they got the money to get away with it, right? I don't know how that part of humanity can exist. Like, how could people be that sick? But I also understand it as there's a certain sect of society that is just pure evil. They're basically again, study will be needed on this, but I'm sure I'm going to be proven right because I think there's certain people that are just born radical as an empty vessel. And depending on what they're close to is what they take on. So if they're radical at birth, when they grow up, and if they're in the Middle East, they grow up to be a jihadist, right? Or a rebel fighter. If they're a teenage girl and they're radical, they become a radical feminist. If they're a boy, they become Antifa or a neo-Nazi. There's no difference between these people. It's just they take on whichever radical ideology. Many of them do seem to display mental health issues such as schizophrenia and stuff like that, bipolar disorder. They do seem to be like that, right? They're all, every single, without exception, left-hand path, either psychopathic or sociopathic. But they're left-hand path. The only question becomes whether they're going to be self-destructive or they're going to want to destroy everybody else. But they're all deconstructionists. We need to take away this layer to see what's beneath it, this layer, this, and just keep removing layers until nothing's left. The deeper meaning, the deeper meaning, the deeper meaning. And they're all moral relativists. I can justify doing justify the means by any means necessary because I can kill these people over here because they're the Nazis, they're this, they're that, whatever. Pick the buzzword, right? It doesn't matter the buzzword. These people, even in a perfect world, would still do this. These people, no matter how much money they have, where they could do the greatest good in the world, they will still do this. They will still do these crazy, evil things. It's just, I think, Mother Nature's way of culling the herd. That these people in probably, hunter-gatherer times probably wouldn't be able to survive. But now it's so easy to survive. Like a person with spina bifida, born with spina bifida, can live to 100 years old. You know what I mean? The quality of life has improved. I'm not saying they shouldn't. What I'm saying is, go back 50, 60, 70 years, these people didn't live long, right? But the technology, but the thing is that also includes these people that are, that's why I think our society is being overtaken by drug addicts and mentally ill people, is that it's just the amount of them that are there, right? These people, again, you could have two, studies have already shown this, where you can get, like, say, three brothers, okay? The oldest brother is, like, really charming, he's handsome, he's athletic, he can do all these things. The middle brother's somewhere in the middle, where he's charming, he's kind of handsome, not quite as capable. And then the youngest brother's a gay hooker, trans hooker out in front of a beer store, whacked out with heroin. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always like that, but there does seem to be a degrading of stuff. Or you have children, like you have like a family of 5, and one kid never gets sick, and then as they get younger, it's like the youngest child's sick all the time. You know what I mean? Because there does seem to be, it's not every single time, but there does seem to be something to it scientifically. So I'm thinking that's what's happening with some of these people, is that because they become psychopaths in their positions of power, they've got all the money and the wealth, they don't just become winos and drug addicts and whatever. A lot of them do. You see it with like the Hollywood, like all these Hollywood liberals with their kids, they're all fucking whacked out on drugs and all kinds of, fucked up in the head, right? And it's not just because they have money. It's beyond that. I think it's because they're left-hand path, because they're an empty vassal of radical. And I think that is the core of it, because, like I say, in hunter-gatherer times, these people would be nihilists that would not live long enough. Therefore, your tribe wouldn't become too big and you wouldn't be able to feed them. So only the strongest would survive. But now that anybody can survive, some of these people who are like this are, I think their role in nature is to keep humanity in check. Basically, their disease to keep us from overbreeding and overpopulating, right? And I'm not saying there's too many people on the planet or anything like that. But what I'm saying is it wouldn't biologically make sense if that was the case. I know I'm off topic here, but it could be a part of a multiple explanation of why these people keep doing, this is something I got to point out too. Every excuse that Trump has used, okay, for justification for this war, okay, every one of those things is stuff they believe. That part is not, they're not lying about. They're lying on, that they had to go to war. But the thing is, it's stuff they do believe. These people are very paranoid. They're dangerous. They're absolutely dangerous. I'm not saying, they'll use anything as an excuse. The Ayatollah had 2 left feet. that was good enough. Let's go fucking bomb them. They don't care what the excuse is. All they care about is how do we get to kill people. That's all they care about. That is the radical gene, right? That plagues people. The problem is us people that are anti-war, right-hand path, who are against all this, we get killed in the crossfire or are sent ourselves. They're talking about a draft, right? A draft will never happen. That will kick off the Civil War in the States. And if it did happen, it'd be the end of humanity anyway. You know what I mean? It's Russia and China are helping the Iranians with targeting the same way the U.S. and NATO is helping the Ukraine with targeting, right, against Russia. So the Russians are going to get payback, but that's not the issue. The issue is, okay, look, tens of thousands of people to probably 1 million people are about to die in this conflict. Half of them are probably going to be Americans. And it's not just going to be over there. This war is on our shores already. It's starting out economically on our shores, right? But you have to understand diaspora. This is a holy war, and it's not just going to be Iranians fighting us. It's the whole house of Islam. This is what the Israelis wanted all along, because if they can get Muslim terrorists everywhere, it'll be easier to crack down on them, whatever. But the second you crack down on them, it triggers the end times prophecy for the Muslims, where Muslims, if they're persecuted everywhere they go, that is a sign of the end times prophecy. Therefore, dirk, right? So just because you don't believe in religion or end times prophecy, that's not the point. The point is the people in power believe this stuff, right? And it doesn't make all Christians bad, doesn't make all Jews bad, doesn't make all Muslims bad. Sure, I'm picking on the Jews a lot in my videos, but rightfully so. Because if we don't swat down the machinations and the bad behavior, they will carry on with it. The Jews are their own worst enemy. They force people to hate them. Why? Because it's a part of their religion. Not all of them, but certain parts they have to be persecuted until God forgives them. And then when God forgives them and the Mashiach comes back, then they can have a homeland. The other ones, it's well, no, we're Zionists. We believe we're God's chosen people, and everybody must do what we say. We can do whatever we want to anybody because they're just cattle anyway. The Goyim, the Goyim must bleed for us. These people hate you, right? So before you call me anti-Semite, look, these people listen to the rabbis. Look, everybody could easily point out radical imams, right? Talking about death to the West and, Islam's going to conquer the world. It won't. look, we are in the 10th crusade. This should be obvious to people now. It's only usually in hindsight when people name this stuff out, but when you understand the formula of it, it's very clear that's what we're looking at. But we're also in the 110th explanation of the Jews. Now, the Jews have always said it was always everybody else's fault that we got kicked out of 109 countries, right? Without a single ounce of self-reflection. And one thing I've noticed about Jewish people, whether they're on the left, whether they're on the right, or non-secular or centrist, they always seem to have no accountability. They always seem to, it's always a trope. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never us. People are always just picking on us for no reason, right? Now, I can understand it because they've been taught that since birth, that the goyim are evil, the Mashiach, or sorry, what do you call it? What is it called? Anyway, the biblical terms for white people, we'll just put it that way, and Europeans and stuff like that. The Amalek, all that, like they have to be destroyed. And like these rabbis will tell you to your face, oh no, we have to destroy you. It's like you guys are, you're vermin. We have to destroy you. Like they will say that exactly to your face, and they'll say it to you in such a patronizing way because they truly believe that they're saying it to you and doing you a favor. Like I know it's messed up, but then it was like, why are you mad? Like, no, we're just telling you this is. We're the chosen people. We're supposed to do this evil stuff to you. You should be happy. Again, it's fucked up, but it is what it is, right? And the only thing they can say is you're an anti-Semite. How dare you say that? These are just tropes. But then, when okay, all I say is, okay, fine, call me whatever you want, but am I wrong? And they'll say, no, you're not wrong, but you're still like it makes you shake your head. You're like, I don't understand. I do understand. That's the problem. I do understand it, but I'm just like, how do they not understand it? Like if they could only self-reflect, like Jews cannot self-reflect as a group. It's impossible for them. They're too brainwashed, right? And because of that, they're doomed. You know what I mean? Like again, they always think they're the victim. Again, as they say, they lash out in pain as they strike you. And you have to point this out in open, honest terms and make it clear. Because at some point it might sink in. But I think at this stage of the game, Israel's done. Israel's done. Like even Henry Kissinger, hope he's burning in hell. Look, even he understood that Israel was toast in about 10 or 15 years. And he said that about 10 or 15 years ago. So even he understood it. And he was like one of the biggest war criminals ever. You know what I mean? Look, every one of the Trump administration GOP members that voted in favor of this blocking the debate and stuff like that for the war should be put on a panel. And basically drilled. Why did you do that? You know what I mean? And the thing is that they have basically signed the death warrants of so many innocent people that they need to be rounded up, charged with crimes against humanity, give them their fair day in court. Look, you can fit these people in a week. You know what I mean? Hang them high. You need to do it on all sides of the aisle. You need to do this with the Obama administration, the Biden administration, the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, whoever's left alive. Like, and you got to do that. And then, of course, like in Israel, if the Israelis don't rise up against their, the Netanyahu government, they're all going to get killed. You know what I mean? I'm not calling for you to do that, but if it doesn't happen, that's what's going to happen. I think the Israelis are doomed either way. Like the Arabs are going to push them into the sea. There is going to be no Greater Israel Project. It's going to be known as the Iranian region. That like Iran is going to win this war. It's almost impossible that they won't. Look, the Taliban were unbeatable, right? Because they had conviction. Sun Tzu's art of war. No nation that has the will to fight can be truly defeated. Look at the Ukrainians. Again, they're losing, sure, but the Russians are taking massive loss to get those gains, right? And yes, the Russians are still beating the Ukrainians 4 or 5, maybe 6-1, but that's still 4 or 5 or 6-1. That's still a lot of death. There's probably 1 million men dead on each side in past 4 years. We'll never know the numbers. I don't even think they know the numbers. The death tolls are so high. And this war is going to make that look like a fucking cakewalk. That's how bad this is going to get. When the Americans start paratrooping people in, number one, just picture a C-5 Galaxy, okay, with 500 guys in it. Doesn't even make it to the shore because the air defense system took it down. Sure, the Iranians are being very sparingly with their air defense systems. Because I think they've already anticipated the ground war. And because they've anticipated the ground war, I think it's very, very easy to say that, well, why waste our air defense systems on cruise missiles? Because you shoot out a cruise missile, nobody in the States is going to care, right? You shoot down a C-130 with 100 guys in it, and those guys get vaporized in the sky and you never get a chance to bury them. That is going to create the outcry. That's going to create the outcry. You artillery or rocket or, like again, 5,000 Marines a day. And I know there's the American exceptionalists. Like, again, there's still guys going on that, look at all the strikes we're doing. And it's like, Iran, they play down Iran's hits. And I'm like, how can you play that down? Start adding it up. Like I'm not playing down how Iran's getting. They're getting fucking hammered. You know what I mean? They're losing a lot of citizenry. They're losing soldiers, sure, and they've lost more than what the Iranians have lost more people now than what the Americans have, probably, no doubt. But I'm pretty sure those casualties are much, much higher. It's just you're not going to hear about it for about another week, 2 weeks. This is why Trump's out there thinking that he can appease the people by saying, well, there's going to be deaths anyway. Just get used to it. You know what I mean? We're about to sacrifice these people needlessly in the name of Israel, right? Again, when you got, again, just think about you're some poor fucking soldier sitting in the Middle East somewhere, and it's like, oh, fuck, hopefully we're going to pull us out of here soon. Oh, hey, email coming in. Guys, be happy, you're about to meet Jesus. It's like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're going to kill us. They're going to fucking let us die. Yeah. Let's put these people, take them off the heavily defended base so we don't take any casualties, and put them in those nice, soft, cushy motels. Yeah. The Iranians will never figure it out to hit the hotel, and fuck, they just fucking night one, bang, bang, bang. Biggest, never mind the economic hit for the Gulf state countries, but the fucking loss of life. Like, I hope there was no fucking staff, sitting in there. And look, I mean, the guy in the lobby is probably saying, yeah, there's 500 soldiers here. Let's clear the staff out. You know what I mean? And they probably would clear the staff out just for security reasons, saying, okay, don't worry, we'll staff the kitchens. We'll do that our own self. But now, the rebel groups are already starting to circle some of these motels. The U.S. consulates everywhere are getting fucking surrounded. Sure, it's mainly civilians getting killed, but look, we saw it in Libya. What was the name of that ambassador that, basically the Clintons got him killed anyway. It's just a shit show. And again, it's all done on purpose. Like, everything you see is done on purpose. The high gas prices, that's done to you on purpose. The high grocery prices, that's done to you on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it's not incompetence, guys. People keep saying that. Oh, it's because they're so incompetent. No, if they were incompetent, they'd fuck up and get it right in their favor once in a while. That's never happened, right? How can they always be on the wrong side? Because it's a plan. You say, yeah, but look at all the chaos and stuff. This is a disaster for the administration, because it's above administrations. It's above presidents and prime ministers and shit like that. It is a world leader class that sits in Davos. It's the people above the Davos and the banking elites and stuff. It's the people above that. We don't know who they all are, but we have a good idea who most of them are, right? And trust me, these donor class billionaires, Zionist donors, they out themselves, right? They literally tell you they're funding the government to go to war. You know what I mean? Uh, Look at, like, every time you see a person table a bill in Parliament or in the Congress down there, whatever, where did this bill come from? Who organized this bill? You know what I mean? Well, it's from my constituents. Okay, which ones? Like, who is asking us to go to war? You know, who is asking us to put billions of dollars into the tech companies, the AI stuff? Who is asking us for the climate change policies? You know what I mean? It's not the average person. It is not the average voter. These people, it's the donor class. These donor class people, uh, again, it's these these elites that are sick in the head. Like, they all seem to be commonly sick in the head. Not all of them, but most of them. Like, how could there not be a single billionaire funding, like the right things? Yes, you've got like TPUSA. Yeah, they fund. They're just another Israeli branch. That's all they are, right? So it doesn't matter if you're talking the SPLC or APAC or what's called what's the big Zionist, the big Israeli lobby thing. It doesn't matter which one it is. They are all basically, look. Ben Shapiro is telling you have to die for Israel, you stupid goy. What's called the Hebrew Aid Society. Again, it goes on and on and on. APAC, ADL. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, these guys are all telling you have to die for Israel, right? If not, you're an anti-Semite. Blah blah blah. Like that. That's what they're telling you, right? And where do they get their money? Who's funding them? Yes, the giant evangelical groups are a big problem because there's 70 million of them in the States. They will always vote to get you killed. If we're lucky, most of them will volunteer and go die, in this war, and then at least it'll take down their voting block a bit. Or they'll actually turn Christian and reject this, or turn Catholic and reject the Israeli stuff. You know what I mean? That's what I'm hoping. Because, yeah, like when Israel starts dropping nukes on Iran, the gloves are really going to come off. And it's not just going to be Iran, it's going to be Russia, China. We could be, again, like these people are crazy enough that they want Armageddon. Well, what is Armageddon? That's Russia, China, Iran, or Russia, China, Israel, I guess South Africa as well, France, UK, the United States, and North Korea, basically launching all their nuclear missiles in the MAD scenario. And people that are not aware of what the MAD scenario is everybody launches on everybody. The United States will launch predominantly at Russia and China, and I guess, wherever Israel tells them, so Iran or whatever. But they will launch also at, allied countries, maybe one or two nukes at France, one or two nukes at UK, and vice versa. Except for Israel, the United States would never launch on Israel. Israel will probably launch a nuke or two at the United States, because that's the MAD scenario. The idea is that nobody is left with the upper hand. So if one country launches, they all launch. That is the MAD scenario. Now, would people, like, if, say, Russia, retaliated against Israel, which I doubt it would do, but let's say it retaliated against Israel and nuked it on behalf of Iran after Israel nuked Iran. Yes, the United States and Israel, the United States and Russia would launch on each other. But maybe the Chinese like, okay, no, we're going to stay out of it. It would happen so fast that I think there wouldn't be time. There's no debt. Like, there's no. Like, people like, oh yeah, well, they can abort the launch by just detonating nukes in space. It's kind of not like that, guys. Once these things leave the silo, they might be able to stop some of them that way, but some of the older ones, they're launched. The submarine stuff, they're launched. You have 20 minutes to make a decision, on 15 to 20 minutes to make a decision. That's the stuff coming from Russia. The stuff that's in a Bory class sub or in if they put those typhoons back in the water. But just the Bory class themselves, you got, just the three of those. I mean, that's 16 Bolivar missiles each, like, and Sarmats, 28s and what have you. You can't call them back. Like the stuff that's from Russia will take 15 to 20 minutes to get here. The stuff that's in the middle of the ocean, you're looking at 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and the Ohio class, the same thing. 24 Trident missiles and Vanguard missiles. What's the British one? Is it the Vanguard? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Like once stuff is launched, it's terminal. You know what I mean? It's terminal at that point. So hopefully people are prepared. Again, I think the phase of the war right now is the United States aircraft's got to be down for maintenance, a lot of them. So they're going to have to shuffle out a lot of these. That's why they're going to have like aircraft carriers along the route from the Atlantic so that they can land the aircraft, get the aircraft back, like basically aircraft going this way and that way so that they can, do a couple of missions because they don't have ground bases anymore to do. Like you're not going to land your fighters in the Middle East is easy because the second you do, like where you're going to, like while you're working on these things, rockets are going to come in. The Iranians are starting to use the cluster munitions. This is a massive step up. Now, the cluster munitions are more for effect, like taking out runways, just creating a lot of damage. But they're not strategic. Like they're not, like those things. I think that's probably so far the most expensive missile that they fired. They're about $1 million a piece. But one of those is going to like put an airport down for a week. You know what I mean? In damage, right? There'll be holes all over the runways. Ben Gurion Airport in Israel is completely it's no longer functional. So every plane on that tarmac, domestic airliners, all those are now lost, right? Again, just the domestic stuff, the non-military assets that are getting destroyed economically, like these motels, it's millions of dollars. Like these are billion-dollar motels, right? They get destroyed. That's an economic hit to those countries. Like those are like the 5-star hotels, right? The runways, okay, runways are relatively cheap to fix, but it's still a cost. But airliners, even the old ones that are cheap, are expensive to fix, right? You know what I mean? And you can't replace airliners overnight. Now, my hunch is us Canadians, we're about to make a lot of money on replenishing airliners with Bombardier. So hopefully we have an uptick in that. But even at that, everybody placing their orders, it's going to take years. Airbus is about to, they got, like Airbus is probably hit, hopefully nobody dies, but hit the A380s. Hit the A380s. We need the business. I mean, those things are multi-billion-dollar airplanes. Biggest airliner in the world currently. Hit some Dreamliners and some 747s. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, holy fuck. Yeah. So, the data centers. The data centers, again, the mounting losses, economic losses. And you have to understand, if they're hitting data centers in UAE or wherever they hit it, Qatar, Kuwait, wherever they hit it, Saudi Arabia, okay, most of the economic drivers of the United States economy right now, 92% in the last quarter, of economic profit or GDP numbers came from the building of these data centers in the States. So if the Iranians start hitting the data centers in the United States, you're talking about $1 trillion of losses. You know what I mean? That is a massive hit to the economy. And it's one of the biggest contributors to the economy, right? It's that bad. It's that bad. And again, with jobs we're about to see a global depression. Like 5% of the world's oil supply has already been hit. And again, these Saudi oil fields that are getting taken out, that seems where the Saudis are hitting now is the economic side of things. because that, like, the air bases and killing soldiers is one thing, right? That's more strategic so that they can't fight back. But when you start hitting countries economically, that's when they're, okay, this is starting to cost us something now. So give it a week, 2 weeks, you're going to start to see the Gulf states saying, no, the Americans, you got to go home. Obviously, the United States is not going to go for that, right? So trade between the United States and the Gulf states are probably going to go on the rocks in retaliation. But it doesn't matter, because as soon as the governments in the Middle East start telling the Americans you have to go home now, the riots, look, globally, the protests are already there. So remember when you saw like the Arab Spring in 2009 to 2011? Picture that on steroids in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So the Americans, that's it. They're out of the Middle East. So if anything, that's the end of Israel, but they'll be out of the Middle East. And the other thing too is, like we've already, I think Brad Crenshaw or whatever, the guy with the Dr. Patch there, yeah, he lost humiliatingly in an election. No one's going to vote for a neocon anymore. But here's the key: you can't vote for anybody Jewish or anybody pro-Israel, or else we're just going to end up, back in the same problem. So the Jewish question now is out front and center. There's no way around it. The only thing they can do is censorship and try to silence people. But at this stage, like, it's the world against Israel, pretty much predominantly, except for the Zionist followers, which is not the dominant of the planet. Most people are against it. So this is why, like, Mark Carney, even again, who's been fighting Trump on just about everything, even a hint of showing solidarity with these attacks. His base is hammering. Everybody's fighting. After the 51st state bullshit and all this and all the fucking economic hardship that Trump is putting on us, let alone his own people, how dare you fucking even consider that, right? What are they going to do? Enact hate speech laws against Carney? I don't know. Who knows? That'd be funny, But you get the idea. Like, guys, this is a world war. We're in it. People say, when's World War III going to get here? We've been in it for a while. And what people are asking is not when is World War III going to get here. We've been in that. The Ukraine kicks off the World War III officially. But really, World War III is an extension of World War II, right? But we could say that if you want to say what is the kickoff time, it's under the Obama years in 2010 when they started to expand NATO. Whether you like that or not, that's when the Russians started to respond. It was with Medvedev as the president, and he said, look, do not do this. The conflict will wipe us out. This is leading us onto a very dangerous path. Do not expand NATO. And Obama went and started expanding NATO. The next thing you know, and then, of course, when they started to, the George Soros, Obama and Clinton administration, and Nikki Haley and Samantha Power and Victoria Nuland and Yatsenuk and all those people, the Israeli lobby and all that, decided to get told to Ukraine, yeah, you're going to become a part of the EU and you're going to become a part of NATO. And the Russians said, don't do it or we'll invade. Then you had the overthrow of Yanukovych, right? They put Poroshenko in. And the Russians still didn't respond, but they annexed Crimea. Well, I guess they did respond with that. And it started a civil war that went on till 2022, and then the Russians invaded, right? So it took the Russians a long time to get ready for the invasion. But Trump, at that time, said, I'm going to send, Javelin missiles in large numbers to the Ukrainians and Stinger missiles to the Ukrainians so that they could fight in Eastern Europe. And technically, Trump triggered the Russian invasion because the Russians told him, do not send Patriot missiles, do not send Javelin missiles, which the Javelin missiles did not, work anywhere near as advertised. The concept's great, but even the spike anti-tank weapon that we've got from they're the Americans use it, Israel uses it. It's good, but even it has issues. Like anti-tank weapons, you got to like this idea that okay, you get one hit and bang, you destroy the tank. That's video games. It's like more like 4 or 5 hits and half of them miss and half of them don't target properly. They don't work well in fog. They don't work well in bad weather. Um, you know what I mean? Like, so most of the military equipment don't never works. Even the U.S. destroyers have a hard time targeting shit in fog. It's a two-way street. It means the Iranian missiles won't be as accurate in fog either. But it's one of those things that none of the F-22 does not work as good as advertised. It might be the best airplane ever built, fighter ever built, but it still doesn't work as good as advertised. The F-35 has all kinds of problems. It's probably the most advanced fighter ever made, but even it doesn't work 100% as advertised. When it works really well, but even at that, oh yeah, but it's got the first aerial kill, the F-22 has only shot down weather balloons. You know what I mean? Which is still, like, again, you got to understand that the F-22s, like, we laugh at them for, shooting down these Chinese weather balloons. But how hard it is to take down those fucking weather balloons. People don't realize, like, you shoot at them with the 20 millimeter, it just goes through them, and it'll take, like, 5 hours before the air's out of them, right? And the missiles don't target because they're too slow, and there's no heat signature, so it's like they're really hard to shoot down. So that is a feat, even if you mock it. Chinese weather balloons, yeah. You remember those good old days when it was just like Chinese weather balloons and UFO things? UFO drones all over the place? Yeah. Yeah. And we still don't know what that was about. Some people are saying, oh no, that was obviously it was some sort of military experiment. All these drones just flying around. And they were big. These were huge. Why aren't they all over the Middle East, right? Well, there's two things. Again, to decommission the aircraft carriers, this would be the best thing that could happen to the U.S. administration. Not politically, but economically, because it's like, oh, good. The Iranians sunk our aircraft carrier and our carrier fleets. Now these big useless warships, we don't need them anymore. And we don't have to pay for the dismantling of them, the decommissioning of them. Oh, great. Oh, sure, it killed 7,500 people, but, they're just useless goy anyway. It doesn't matter, right? And that's the way these people think. They don't care about how many, we used to mock blood and guts Patton, right? In World War II. Yeah, send 5,000 men to their death in a day as long as we take the hill. You know what I mean? It's like these people are fucking insane. Again, if we had brave law enforcement military around the world, like they need to round up every leader, whether it's the Putin administration, the Trump administration, the Xi administration. Like we need some brave military out there to get this done because these people are fucking insane. They're gonna get us all killed. It's us or them at this point. You know what I mean? Anyway. But the thing is that whichever way this goes, like I say, the phase right now, the Iranians, they're selecting different targets. They don't have to do the giant barrages. It doesn't make sense for them. Like everybody expects it's going to be like 200 rockets a night. It doesn't matter. Like you can only do that for so long, and then it's like, well, to fire 200 rockets at what? Like there's that whole shit. We're running out of targets, right? Like how many times, like that painted helicopter on the ground, that thing's going to get hit 10 times. Why? Just because it's like, well, we got to look like we're doing something. You know what I mean? Like this idea, we're hitting that many targets in a night. Like when you really think about it strategically, because like for the shock and awe, to keep the shock and awe, you got to keep dropping bombs, right? So look, Scott Ritter, take him with a grain of salt, whether you like him or not. I do think he's pretty good. Him and Douglas McGregor or whatever, the generals. I don't agree with every single thing they say, but one thing that they do say is like, yeah, the Americans are bombing a lot of empty buildings, the same as they did in Iraq. Like they're like, you're good at blowing up buildings, we're good at pouring concrete, and you're excellent at bombing empty buildings, right? And the thing of it is, there was a Matt Damon movie. I can't remember what it was called, but basically he was a weapons and investigator in Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction, and they never found it, right? Because everywhere they went, everything was cleared out. Saddam had already given up his weapons, right? Which I'm sure he regretted that because we know what happened to Saddam, right? But no, this phase of the war, okay, the Americans, okay, you see it in Ukraine where things die down, then they spark up. It's in phases, right? So it's like, okay, well, right now the warships have to be replenished for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so many missiles per warship, even though like a Tongariro class got like 150 Patriot missiles on it. But you're gonna run out. You're firing 1,000 hits a day. Like they fired 10 cruise missiles at one target. You know what I mean? If they think it's a legitimate target, like an entrance, you're not going to fire one cruise missile. You're going to fire 10 at it. That's why you're seeing these volleys of like 3, 5, 10 cruise missiles just zipping. These Tomahawk cruise missiles just zipping all over the place, right? And they're all in volleys, right? You hit a building, you hit it 3 times, you hit it 4 times, you hit it 10 times. Like they didn't hit the Ayatollah's building with one bomb; they hit it with like 5 or 6, or whatever it was. It just boom, 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 boom. Make sure you get them. It's overkill, but it works. But you got to replenish that. So phase 1 is burn up the old stock stuff. But phase 2, like when they go into phase 2, like they're trying to pull stockpiles from around the world, which is depleting like Joe Skousen said that no, World War III was going to start between 2024 and 2025. Okay, it's 2026, right? He says they're all in on it, and the idea is the United States is going to lose the war. So everybody can see that they're going to lose this war in Iran. It'd take a miracle. Even if you nuke them, I think you'd still lose. There's 91 million people there. They're spread out enough. There's not enough nukes on the planet to nuke it all, but there's enough to, turn most of it into a glass parking lot, sure. But even at that, like the people will, look, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, nukes do not destroy humanity. They don't. They do a lot of damage. They create a lot of cancer. They kill a lot of people, vaporize a lot of people, but they don't end humanity. And I don't think this is going. I'm more afraid of the economic warfare than I am of the nuclear warfare. And I know that sounds like, obviously you don't want nukes over your city, but the thing is that if you look, we're about to see another financial crisis that was already in the works. A lot of this war could be to hide that as well. You know what I mean? When all else fails, they take the war. Okay, so it's a holy war. That's part of it. It's it's a boost for the weapons industry, military industrial complex. It's for that as well. It's for it's a holy war for Israel. It's a holy war for the Christians. It's a holy war for the Muslims. Okay, fine. It's that as well. It's a distraction from the Epstein thing. It's that as well. They don't care about the Epstein thing anyway, because it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat in power or a GOP in power, a Republican in power, because the judges and lawyers don't prosecute you anyway. They'll leak out all these files, like 3 million files, but even with all that evidence and witnesses and everything, no, what we're going to do is we'll bleed it out just to appease the people. So say, see here, we told you so. And then it's like, yeah, but nothing happens. Nobody goes to jail. But Prince Andrew, they're going after him for the Epstein thing. No, they're going after him for selling secrets to Israel, not for diddling young girls. Again, nobody's going to go to jail. These people are fucking evil. They're all in on it. But anyway, one of the things that Joe Skousen was saying was that the United States was going to lose this war. Okay? It's a war designed to break up the United States. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Klaus Schwab, remember him saying that, oh yeah, well, the future is just going to be a whole bunch of economic collapses and little, regional wars everywhere. How would he know this? Like, how do these people get it right all the time? Because they're telling you the plan. The same way Albert Pike told you what the plan was over 100 years ago. He wasn't clairvoyant, people. He was just saying, "This is how it's going to play out. This is how we're going to rule the world." Um, Again, the Oded Yeon plan. This guy wasn't taking a guess. He was telling you this is how we're going to conquer the Middle East, and it's pretty much played out exactly how he said. Right? Maybe not to the T, but close enough. Right? Yeah, there's that. So they're all in on it. There's no good guys. And the people are getting fed up. So, yes, you are going to have a pitchfork revolution just about everywhere because people are just sick and tired of all this war bullshit on behalf of Israel, right? So, yes, you're going to see a lot of terror attacks. Sleeper cells are going to start to, and economic sabotage, especially in the States, but it's going to be in every country. So, fuel depots. And look, the Americans are, when they see us doing well with our oil, they're probably going to sabotage us too. Why? Because, well, how come they're, like Trump is about, you just watch. He's going to start threatening, we need more oil from Canada, we're going to take it. Again, we're going to go to war with the Americans. We need to prepare. This is why Carney, like all these preparedness drills in the Arctic, sure, but they're all over the country right now. Like, you got soldiers, in Calgary. Now, this is not new. We've always seen this, but not all at once. We've never seen the Canadian military mobilized in drills all over the place at once. Like they're canceling drills for the Americans right now to mobilize to go to war, boots on the ground in Iraq, right? And they'll just go. It's like, oh, this war is fake. Yeah, but I'm going to get on the plane and go. Rather than tell your superiors to go fucking stuff it. Put me in the gulag. See if I care. Discharge me. See if I care. The military is not a prestige job anymore. It's, you're mercenaries for Israel. That's it. And globalists. It's always been that way, but now it's, you're not going there for democracy, women, and children. Clearly not going there for democracy, women, and children. You just blew up a fucking school on purpose, knowing it was there. Right? And God knows how many other civilians, like, yes, the Americans will hit the hospitals. They will hit the food supply, the water supply, the desalination plants and stuff like that. But so will the Israelis. They're going to start hitting that stuff too. And when they do, like when they start, that is the number one weapon in the Middle East is water. You take out desalination plants, that's worse than a nuke going off. You know what I mean? Like, especially in Israel, like, they don't have that many of them, right? And it's just, will the Iranians go to that level? Well, you nuke them, they will. Like your people, they'll never be able to bring in enough water at a time. Those people will be dead within 3 weeks. Like, you're about to see about half of the Israeli population wiped out. Some people might cheer that, some people might not. I'm saying it didn't have to be that way, but you started a war. They faffled, right? They faffled. It's going to be horrible. Again, all these people, sure, misguided people, whether on the left, whether on the right, whether they're Zionists, whether whatever. Okay, I don't particularly hate these people. I disagree with them greatly. But I'm just like, okay, yeah, but, like, I'd rather debate you and bring you to reason than see you killed, right? Because what I'm telling you is, if you keep following, you're in a death cult. You are following a path of self-destruction. It's left-hand path. You don't need to be like that. It's okay to let that go and come to the right. Come to the right-hand path. Doesn't mean you have to be a right-wing person. It means you have to be a right-hand path or you're going to die. And as a right-wing person and a right-hand path person, I'm telling you, don't do this because I don't want my people killed in the crossfire. If you want to kill yourselves, okay, that's sad, but fine. Do what you're going to do, but just keep us out of it. You know what I mean? That's why I tell everybody, like, sit back, don't get involved, don't go to the protests, don't join the crusade, defend yourself, defend your family, defend your property, whatever you got to do to stay alive, okay? And the best way is to prep. Prep and sit back and just, get a lot of popcorn because I'm telling you, you're going to be entertained. It will be mortifying, but you will be entertained. Yeah. So, aircraft carriers, I think they might have another week left to live. I know the Iranians are using their air defenses more for the drones and stuff like that. They have shot down. It is confirmed that they did shoot down a fourth F-15. The fifth is questionable, most likely not. The other three, they're saying it was a Kuwaiti pilot, who I might say, if he gets 2 more kills, he becomes the first ace of the war. So he's probably like, yeah, come on. Look, this is going to play out however violently it's going to play out. The Iranians are now on selective target mode, meaning it's no longer shock and awe. It's now just war of attrition, asymmetrical warfare. Okay, well, we'll use speedboats to take out, or drone boats to take out freighters. Okay, that's the economic. We'll use rockets. Okay, well, we've hit pretty much all the American bases and here, airports and everything like that. People are stranded. We got the hotels. Okay, we could target the embassies. Okay, we got that. We got the oil refineries and the tankers. Okay, we got that. Okay, now we're getting the data centers. We'll hit their tech sector. If you destroy the tech sector of the Middle East, they go back to the Stone Age. Like the Middle East is a fragile place to begin with, even like in these Gulf states, oil-rich Gulf states. Like, I mean, they just, it's the delays of rebuilding all these refineries up again. Sure, they can do it, but like, I mean, Canadian Prepper was talking about like every refinery, yeah, there's certain parts that it's just pipes and tubes and you can pretty much, superficial damage and you can get it up and going in a week. But there's certain parts that are high-tech technology that in the refinement system that when you destroy it, you can't just rebuild these things in a month or two. Like they take a year to build, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to rebuild. And that's the size of the system. And you can only do so much, and then the supply chain. Again, when they start hitting the desalination plants, Israel will do it first, and the United States will do it first. Look, they did the same thing in Syria and in Libya, where, like, for example, they always say it's an accident because it's a crime against humanity. But they always, like, for example, the grain silos. They always hit the grain silos, right? They did this in Syria to, make sure that the Syrians would starve to death. They hit their water. They hit the hydro. They do all this stuff overnight. Like, even the Russians haven't, like, yes, they'll hit, like, power substations and stuff like that, but they don't typically hit the nuclear power plants as much or the coal plants as much. They do hit them, but they don't hit the food supply. They don't seem to hit. Even the Ukrainians aren't hitting the food supplies in Russia. They'll hit other things, right? But no, the Americans have always attacked the food supplies to make sure. That's what they did to Yemen for since 2009. Why do you think the Yemenis are so riled up, right? Because under Obama, they helped Saudi Arabia to destroy the Saudi food supplies, so those people would just starve to death, right? So you had 90 million people starving to death. Now the thing is the only thing that the gamble that the Israelis and the Americans are going on is that, well, with Iran hitting everybody, that everybody's going to be so mad at Iran that they're going to help us. All these rebel groups are going to go together and basically go after Iran. I don't think it's going to work like that. Number one, these rebel groups, if you look at how it worked in Syria, these rebel groups don't move far. Like, yes, the ISIS guys were all over the place because they were funded by Israel and the United States and other countries, to take out Assad. But really, when you think about it, it was a handful of guys that could move around. The rest are just rebel groups in their areas. They don't leave their areas. They're on foot. And like Afghanistan and Iraq, they mostly have just small arms, rocket launchers, mortars, machine guns, AKs, that kind of stuff. The Iranians, they got anti-tank weapons, anti-shipping weapons, air defense. They've got all the big heavy hitting stuff, the rockets, subs, drones, you name it. So, yeah, invading Iran is not going to be a cakewalk. It's definitely not going to look like that. So, yeah, when the Apache gunship helicopters start flying low level over Iran, I think you're going to see a lot of gunship helicopters taken out. And again, the Iranians are out there saying, yeah, bring it. We're ready for you. In fact, That would be their best strategy because that's where they're going to incur the most losses. Picture 30 Black Hawk helicopters and Chinooks. They fly around a freaking mountain ridge, and all of a sudden, the other side, there's a bunch of Zu-23 sitting there just fucking open up on them. Can the Apache, like, how many helicopters are going to be lost before the Apaches can engage that, right? And if you got guys there sitting there with Eagle missiles, like, again, when you're trying to go over the ridge, that's yeah. Like, you're flying at 500 feet's not going to do. You're going to have to fly at 5,000. Your helicopters at 5,000 feet, but then the air defense systems are going to get you. So unlike Iraq and Afghanistan, where you could fly above the rocket, shoulder fired man pads, this you have to go nap in the earth. But down there, you're going to get taken out by like fucking Shilkovas and or how you say it, the Zu-23s. They're just going to, or tanks are going to shoot you down. APCs are going to shoot you down. Like. Guys on the ground with the Zu-23s just sitting on the ground. You're gonna be taken out at low level. You know what I mean? Not to mention all the RPG-7s. Like, you can't fly low. You couldn't do it in Iraq and do it in Afghanistan without incurring losses. That's why they flew so high. Because why? The RPG-7s were no good at 500 feet. They couldn't hit. They couldn't. The odd one would get lucky, but they couldn't hit, right? Like at 100 feet off the ground, 50 feet off the ground, RPG-7, like, you're going to get like, that'll take down any helicopter currently on the planet. Yeah, like helicopters, warships, tanks. The Ukraine war kind of shows you how obsolete they kind of are. Like the aircraft carriers can't operate with impunity against Iran. They can't. It looks like they are, but they're not. They can come in close, but the Iranians, they've already signaled that, yeah, we know where you are at all times with the carrier groups. It's just, when do we decide to sink you? So now the carrier groups have to go out far, and where they're out far, well, it kind of takes away the advantage of having a close-in aircraft carrier. So now you need all these tankers. And again, the Americans only have about 100 tankers. What are they going to do? Commandeer all of NATO's tankers for this war? Like, we have 10 or 9, I think. So you got 64 tankers committed to the cause. So if I'm an Iranian air defense guy, and I have an option of shooting down an F-22 or a tanker, I'm taking the tanker every time. Why? Because that F-22 is going to have, it has a lot longer legs, a longer range, but it's going to be more, like, it's going to have a harder time because it's going to have to fly further to get refueled and rearmed or whatever, or have to start carrying drop tanks, which is going to wreck the stealthiness of it to a degree. Again, it plays into their hands, right? Even if they're taking more hits now, long term, they're going to win the war. And if they win the war, that's the end of America. This is one of those things that will mean the United States is no longer the king dog. It no longer can police the world and give security guarantees to its partner nations, right? And that's what they're finding out all over the Middle East, is that the Americans cannot defend you against these rockets. So why are we hosting these people in our countries, right? I get there's a lot of, well, we fucking hate Iran, that's why we're doing it. But again, like I say, it's the Middle East. Every country hates the other country. Half the people in their own countries hate each other. like you think polarization is just here? No, yeah. The Middle East is just full of people that hate each other. You know what I mean? Best thing we could hope for is that they could hate each other in peace. But don't hold your breath. That's what I'm saying. Don't hold your breath. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at about that. So the next phase of the war, I think, is just Iran finding new targets. The big barrages, I think, are just going to be kind of, well, they're not needed. You know what I mean? Like, once the Iron Dome is depleted enough that, they could fire one rocket and hit the target they want. They don't need to fire 30 unless the target requires more than one missile hit. Like these caves, like, you're never going to get a Tomahawk missile into these caves far enough to destroy everything in there. Maybe you might get lucky, but there could be 5,000 caves across the country. We don't know. Like, where's the Iranian Air Force? Oh, every aircraft was destroyed on the ground. No, they're not. because at the second, if you could get all the MiG-29s and F-14s and F-4 Phantoms on the ground, right? I guarantee you would be seeing that footage. This is the part that should disturb you. Is not the footage from the shit hitting Israel and stuff like that. It's the blackout from the American side. Okay? Look, oh, we sunk a sub. You get to see it right away. Why? Because it's war propaganda. It's like, oh, look, we're winning. Where's the 10 sub kills? Oh, look, these warships that were sitting at dock. Oh, yeah, big victory, right? Yeah, we took out their navy. They were at the dock. Okay, we got a, you know what I mean? There's still other Navy ships at large. Good luck finding them all. It takes a while. And if they find you before you find them, you know what I mean? We don't know what I mean, there's a lot of ships in the region, like a lot of commercial shipping in the region. So you can't just fire cruise missiles willy-nilly. Maybe that's what the Iranians are, afraid of, is just, okay, well, we don't want to hit like Chinese vessels and Russian vessels and stuff like that, although they have hit some. But they're allowing, the Strait of Hormuz is not fully closed. It's open to their trade partners, right? But anybody that's pro-Israel, yeah, you're done. You know what I mean? You're going to lose that ship. You know what I mean? So yeah, so the Americans, again, they've got to, like they're going to have to replace these aircraft for maintenance fairly soon. Again, they're flying long hours. You're going to start to see the maintenance failure. These guys on the ships, they've got it. They were already fatigued when they got there. They were already over their stay deployment by already a couple of months, right? So they got to get some new sailors out onto these ships, or they're going to wear their guys out, And if they do, again, you let your guard down at the wrong time, you're going to lose. It's going to be a disaster when the first carrier group goes to the bottom. They do seem to be really focusing on the Abraham Lincoln. The Gerald Ford, they don't seem to be as, which that is the prize. They are harassing it, but they're not like, that would be because that's the king dog right there. That's the newest aircraft carrier, the latest and greatest. They sink that thing, the demoralization is going to be, and I think the Iranians are waiting to do this. Again, why have all the fun in the first week, right? But they are going to do it. They have the capabilities. They've already fired these rockets, okay, and say, yeah, but they missed. Yeah, but the thing is they fired them close enough to say, hey, we know where you are. And the Americans understood the message, and they were probably closer than what you think. And it's like, okay, well, if they can range us with the rockets, they're going to range us with the cruise missiles and anti-shipping missiles, and we better back off. And the Americans have backed off. Will they come back in close again? Yeah, but they're only going to be able to get away with that a few times. Look, 1,000 kilometers out, they might be able to fend off an Iranian attack fairly easily from there. Okay, the drones, okay, we could jam them long before they even get here. Won't even have to shoot them down. They'll be so off course. 300 kilometers out, or about 180 miles out, you might not be able to get away with that. And you won't be able to outrun the cruise missiles, because the cruise missiles, they're going 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers out, right? So that's going to be 800 miles out to 900 miles out before you're in the safe zone. So you got to see what I mean. Like, it's like their range, the weapons can hit you. The electronic warfare is probably more what saves the American fleet than anything. And even at that, it's not foolproof. So the drones are, like, again, if they target it, they're going to use these cluster rockets, okay, cluster bombs. Now of course, you're going to hear all the, oh, that's the crimes against humanity to use these cluster bombs, while the Israelis drop like white phosphorus on Gaza, right? Yeah. Again, like, crimes against humanity. No, they're all guilty. They bomb schools, for fuck's sakes. You know what I mean? Like schoolgirls. So, like, I mean, yeah. Yeah, the hypocrisy, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, what I think they would do, which makes the most sense, is they would use the rockets to basically barrage and airburst and damage the aircrafts that way. it wouldn't cripple the aircraft, but it could destroy the delicate radars and arrays. And then once you stop the detection, the targeting systems are no good because you can't detect what's coming in. And once that happens, then you can do more damage with the drones, which are cheap. The drones probably would not be enough to damage or sink any of the carriers unless they got a direct hit on a VLS system and there was just a chain reaction. Maybe that could happen. But I think they would use that to more cripple the ship, whatever, cripple the aircraft carrier, whatever, and then finish it off with the cruise missiles. Once, okay, it's like that, or it's like, okay, just deplete them with, just rain rockets down on them, put them in close enough range so that they burn up the air defense missiles. So then they're down to the phalanxes and the deck guns. Once they're down to the phalanxes and the deck guns, they're as good as dead. They won't be able to outrun the cruise missiles or even the drones. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking what they're waiting is for the aircrafts to come to unmissable range. And if Trump gets his way, the U.S. Navy is going to be basically putting their destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz, which, again, you could call it Operation Red Meat. The Iranians, okay, there's some stuff they can't stop from getting hit, but give the Americans the illusion of invincibility so that they put their guard down, fly their F-35s directly over Tehran so you can shoot them, or close enough that you could shoot them down. Because the PR of this, if the Iranians destroy a American submarine, that would demoralize the entirety of the United States. To sink an aircraft carrier, one, let alone three carrier groups, would be such a humiliating defeat to the Americans on the world stage. Again, it won't rally around the flag. It'll just enrage people with protest. Just because it's like those people died for nothing. They died for Israel. And then, of course, shooting down an F-35, F-22, B-2s, that is the ultimate, okay, you guys are not safe. There's nothing you can send at us that we can't get. That's what the Iranians are going to do. And as far as the Iranian Air Force, their F-4 Phantoms, again, they only have a handful. They're MiG-29s. They're all sitting in caves. They literally, the runways, the caves open to a runway and they take off right out of the cave. It's just like a cartoon. They pretty much do that. So they're not going to pull those out yet. They'll use those later on because they know that equipment is pretty much obsolete. So what about the Yak 138 or whatever that got shot down? Well, that's a training aircraft, guys. So it's a kill for the F-35. I'm not going to take that away. But hardly a fair fight. You know what I mean? Hardly a fair fight. So what were they doing in the air? That's what I'm wondering. My hunch is they're probably hunting drones, using it to hunt drones because, nobody would be flying right now in Iran because it just doesn't make sense. It's not that the air defense systems don't work or the air-to-air missiles don't work, but it's just they're not going to burn them up yet, I don't think. I think what they're going to do is wait till after they sink a couple of aircraft carriers and then launch stuff. I think they're going to use the F-4 Phantoms for offensive reasons. Okay, all the air defense systems on the ground and, like the Patriots and all that, once they're destroyed on the ground and they use the rockets to, basically destroy all the Kuwaiti Air Force, the Saudi Air Force, whatever, then they can carpet bomb with the F-4 Phantoms, pretty much willy-nilly because there's not going to be a U.S. aircraft in sight. Okay, let the U.S. do their strike. Okay, they do the strike on Iran. Okay, the wave is heading back to the carrier group. They don't have enough fuel to come back at us. Okay, well, it's kind of like what they did in World War II with the Battle of Britain. The Spitfires would rather and Hurricane pilots would rather destroy, 5 fighters leaving the raid. Bombers shoot down 5 bombers leaving the raid than shooting one on the way, right? Because it was more effective. It's like, okay, well, you don't get as many as you can coming in, but the red meat is letting them do the strike so that they burn up their fuel enough that they have to head home or else they're going to run out of fuel. Once you do that, then you're going to see, again, cluster munitions and maybe napalm. You can picture three F-4 Phantoms flying wingtip to wingtip, Vietnam style, with fucking cluster bombs going across an Israeli runway. That would be just the ultimate insult to the Israelis. It'd be a long time before you see that, because they have to take out about 300 fighters on the Israelis. But I think they can do it. The Israelis can't destroy any fighter that's not out and about in Iran. But, the Israelis, like, how many fighters, like, where are they stationing their fighters? They have to be stationing them either, they can't, like, Israel's not a safe place for their fighter groups. Those things are out even in their bunkers. The rockets go clean right through those. Again, it's the warfare we're at. Like, the Iranians can punch through these air hangars that, and the Israelis can do the same. Like, the air hangars, these concrete air hangars, they don't work the way people think they do. You know what I mean? They used to, right? But that was World War II or the 1950s, where a free fall bomb or a Hydra 70 rocket, could defend against that. But like a hypersonic missile just blasts right through them, right? Cruise missile goes right into them. So yeah, is what it is. Is what it is. Anyway, we'll see what tomorrow brings. But guys, don't fall for the propaganda that when you see a little bit of a let up that it's the other side is losing. It's a week in on something that the Iranians have been preparing, 47 years for this war, okay? But they've really been preparing simply since 2009, 2010. I've been following it that entire time, and trust me, if the time to take out Iran, if you think it was now, it wasn't. It was back in 2009 or 2010 when they planned it. It's just they weren't ready to go then. And now the Iranians are ready to defend. So they've got a more, even once the Iranians, which will take them months to run out of all the missiles they have, like, even if you get all the launchers, they're going to build more launchers. They're building them in the tunnels. You know what I mean? So like this idea when Trump comes out and says, well, they only have 200 to 400 left. Okay, launchers left. Okay, sure. Let's say you get all 400 tunnels, launchers left. But then next week there's like 15 come out of the tunnel and they're still going. And then 15 the week after. You get all the, like, it's just a numbers game at this point. Like, these pickup trucks are not that sophisticated. It's a launching truck. It's they could probably build a couple of them a week. You know what I mean? That's enough. And not only that, like parts could be coming in from North Korea. They could be coming in from China. It's like, okay, well, we can build this and this and this, but just get us the parts this way, and this way. And again, it's not like the Iranians are completely cut off from the world. They are still getting stuff. It's getting harder. So, like, again, the United States is going to have to get Apache gunship helicopters and A-10s over the landscape of Iranian territory to take out the trains, to take out the stuff like that in certain areas, because if you don't, they're going to have a supply chain, right? But the thing is that we don't know what the Americans or the Iranians actually have and how long they can just keep this going, right? They'll destroy the world economy by the time you get all their stuff. And even when you do, they're still building 100 hypersonic rockets per month. So even if they can only get down to only firing all 100 of those per month, you'll never stop them. And that's a rate in which you could never recover the damage they're doing. Meaning, as soon as you build a hotel and it's done, they've taken it down with another rocket. 100 targets a month is an insane amount of targeting, right? Across the Middle East. Okay, we're going to take out a data center. Okay, well, that data center is going to take a year to rebuild. You take out an airport, that's going to take a year to rebuild. You're going to take out, like the runway. Sure, the runway can function in a couple of hours. But the hangars, the air traffic control, all that stuff, like, you don't replace that overnight. And that's what they're losing. Oil refiners, are good. Like, whatever you hit on the Iranians, they seem to counter. Okay, well, and some. Like, they're going to hit train stations too. You know what I mean? Yeah, like they have a low-tech works no matter what mentality, and the United States doesn't seem to have, or Israel seems to have the Like they still think you need these high-tech weapons to fight a war like this. When it's like, no, you fight it on the cheap. Like they're firing drones 10-1. You know what I mean? Like it's a numbers game. You know what I mean? It's a numbers game. But the thing is are the Gulf states willing to take that economic losses that they've already taken? And, you know, like, again, are they going to keep backing an ally that can't defend them? You know, the whole reason why they took this on was that, you know, the United States could defend you from the Iranians. Well, clearly you can't. You know, and yet you got people out there saying, oh, because we're doing, you know, massive strikes in Iran, that they're, you know, we're winning. You're not winning. It's just people losing stuff on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, I can't make it any clearer than that. But anyway, I guess I'm just ranting now, but that's the phase I think we're in. Again, no one's going to be forthcoming. So we can only speculate on what we see, right? We can only report what we see. Anything coming from the U.S. administration, take it with a grain of salt. Law. The Iranians, they're no more like the Israelis. None of them are going to tell you the truth, right? And there's a lot of propaganda. These AI fucking bot farm videos, don't listen to those. Don't listen to the cheerleaders. There's one guy, he's in my feed all the time. And it's just like everything America does is like that's it. The Iranians are scared now. That's it. We're winning. And I'm just like, it's kind of like Dr. Dave Tooley kind of, and like Next News kind of type of guys, which I don't dislike those guys, but I'm just like, you know, we're winning all the time. Oh, we're just winning so much. And it's like, no, we're in fucking massive global crisis. We have an everything crisis in everything. We got drug addicts, homeless people, job crisis, migrant crisis, education crisis, trans crisis, LGBTQ crazy crisis. We got global war crisis. We got fucking food shortage crisis. We got economic crisis. Do I need to World War III fucking crisis, Holy War fucking crisis? Like, do I need to go on? No, we're not doing well, people. We're not doing well. So you better be prepared. Stock up. Go buy 10 bags of rice. I don't give financial advice because it's all rigged anyway. And I'm a poor man, so you don't want to take financial advice from a poor man, right? But I will tell you this. I know how to hunt. I know how to fish. I know how to trap. I have all that stuff. Bread, bullets, and bandages. Trust me, gold is worthless when you're starving. You know what I mean? It only, like a bag of rice, an ounce of rice is going to get you further than an ounce of gold. You know what I mean? Having the ability to farm, having the ability to do stuff. Even if you disagree with everything I say and you hate me because I'm anti-Zionist, Nazi, bigot, racist, whatever, fine. Please prep. You and your family, you should have at least 2 years worth of food for everybody in your family. Go with the cheap. I don't like rice. Yeah, but you're going to hate starving more. I mean, we may not have another pandemic, but we may have to stay in our houses for 6-8 months because the radioactive clouds floating around. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Like, again, all this shit burning in the across the Middle East. That stuff burning is not good to be breathing that in. You know what I mean? Again, these world leaders don't remember Gulf syndrome. Yeah, that's for breathing in fucking depleted uranium and all kinds of shit. Yeah, how did they treat those veterans? Well, maybe not as bad as the veteran that they broke his arm because he spoke out, but you know, yeah, those guys, a lot of those guys died. Did the government care? No, because they died like a good little boy. You know, like how dare you ask for something? Like Justin Trudeau said back when he was in office there, oh, the veterans are just asking too much. You know what I mean? But these are the people that send you to war. You know what I mean? They when you come back, you are a pariah on them. They hate you. They want you to die over there. It's financially expedient for them if these aircraft carriers are destroyed because it guarantees more war, number one. So the weapons industry is going to make more money and they don't have to worry about decommissioning these pieces of shit. And if a bunch of people, 5,000 sailors die on the aircraft carrier, well, they're just useless goy anyway, right? That's how these people fucking view you, So if that's how chosen people fucking view you overall, like, I mean, again, is it all of them? No, but if you can't point out the problem, at this point, like there's no more gaslighting that can be done. There's no more, oh, you're just, at this point, you got to pick a side. You know what I mean? Like you're either on the side of humanity or you're not. And it's this, look, you can't go with this like 60s boomer, we all bleed red stuff. It doesn't work like that. The world is tribal. It's always been tribal. It will always be tribal. But what we have to get back to is, okay, take care of our own interests. Never mind the rest of the world, but leave them alone as well. You know what I mean? And just keep them out of our yard. That's it. You got to go nationalist. It's the only way. You don't have to hate everybody, but like you could see that clearly. It's not working. Things are not working. But the only reason why the Americans are involved in this war is simple, because Israel said so, and it's what I've been telling you for forever. And I've been, a lot of people disagree with me, whatever. But now you know. Like, how could you deny it now? Like, even the Israelis are not denying it. Oh, you're fighting this war for us, going. It's there. Like, listen to them. They're telling you. Anyway, I got other stuff I got to do today, such as record my song with my drums and stuff like that. So, I'm just hoping that like, cooler heads are not going to prevail on this. I'm just hoping, if we're lucky, all the fucking ass clowns get killed in this one, and the innocent people don't. But usually, it's the innocent people get killed, and these ass clowns go on to do another war in a couple of years. I'm hoping that, like, look, when they sink the aircraft carriers, I'm not going to be rejoicing on that. That's going to be a horrible day. But what I'm thinking is it's not going to do the rally. Yes, there's the people that will rally around the flag like that, the simpletons that will do that. They would do it anyway. You know what I mean? But the thing is that I don't think the majority are going to do that. What we're starting to see is something we've never seen before. The right wing, okay, becoming anti-neocon to the point where, again, it started with the Ron Paul revolution of them trying to be non-interventionist. That didn't work. Why? Because Israel said you can't do that. Then it turned into the MAGA. The MAGA had to be, okay, well, it's just about, protecting our ally and whatever. Again, name one good thing Israel's ever done for another country. I'll wait. You know what I mean? They take care of their own interest, which is fine. Fine, you can do that. But they do it at the expense of fucking everybody, trying to get everybody killed. And they have to have it all. You know what I mean? They have to have it all, right? These are very irrational people that we're dealing with. They're insane. They're clearly insane. Like if you're for this war, you're insane. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're insane. There's no reason to have it. Killing people just for the sake of killing people, because, you believe it's the end times. Like, I mean, it's fucking nuts. I don't care if you're a Muslim, Christian, or a Jew. You're nuts. And you're sinning. You're sinning big time. And by all three of your gods, you're all sinning. Look, I'm more of a Catholic than, I guess, a Christian, but even at that, you wouldn't call me a hardcore Christian or Catholic. But even I know, even if I'm not a scholar, I know enough that you really only have to go to the 10 Commandments. And just ask yourself, are they breaking the 10 Commandments right now? I think so. They've taken a "thou shalt not murder" part and completely ripped it out of the book. You're not supposed to, what do you call it, acts of aggression against your brother's house, so to speak. Yeah, it tells you not to do shit like that. In other words, you can't preemptively strike. You can't preemptively strike your sins. you can't preemptively sin, I guess. Anyway, I got to leave it at about that because I do got to get the other stuff done. Plus, I want to get back to my big-ass book. I got to show you this one more time. Guys, pick up a book. Again, I get these books for free. All these books. Probably about $3,000 worth of books that I got for free. Local library, neighboring town. Look at that. Look at that big freaking cheeseburger. Cheeseburger. 90 pages in. That's 90 pages in. That's crazy. So... Anyway, get back to something like that. Get your mind off all this. I know it's fun to doom scroll and stuff like that. Wait for the next bunch of people. Again, we're watching people die in real time. Like I say, you'll be entertained, but have some empathy for these people that are getting hammered because a bunch of world leaders, these fucking faggots. They have to kill everybody. They never send their children. They never have to pay the price. They make money off of it, if anything. Think of how much money that Trump and his family, like Jared Kushner and all them, are making off of this. Where do you think the money from Gas Largo is going to come? First, they got to clear the land, right? So, anyway, I digress. All right, so anyway, we'll see what tomorrow brings for day 7. So today is day 7. Day 7 for the war. So tomorrow, I guess, would technically be day 8, or today's day 8. But I'm reporting one day back of stuff because it seems like you have to go back after about a week anyway and say, okay, everything I said back then, this is the details now. And it's always 100% different. That's why I'm not one of those up to the minute guys. Breaking news, because it's always all bullshit, always all lies. And it's always politically spun. Don't be that guy. Don't be the my guy can do no wrong, that guy can do no right. No, be honest. And what I'm liking, what I'm seeing is when I see guys that were conservative for years have actually stuck to their moral ground and say, I'm against this. They're not conserving. They're not doing what I voted for. Trump is not. Get it. The left hates the right. The right hates the left, whatever. But what I'm really trying to get to people is like, good, is the ants in a jar analogy of you got black ants and red ants in a jar, and the guy comes along and he shakes the jar, and the red ants and the black ants attack each other. Well, that's exactly what's happening with the left and the right? Sure, there's policy stuff you can disagree on. I get it. Everybody's outrage, and just, reacting out, triggered by everything. But slow down. Breathe a bit. When I'm seeing the right wing calling out the evil, they're doing the right thing. When I see the left calling out the evil, they're doing the right thing. And it's not centrism. I'm just going to sit on the fence and not take a side. No. I am against what Israel is doing. I am against what the United States is doing. I'm against what the Trump administration is doing. Trump got elected on doing the absolute opposite of what he was doing. What he said he was going to do the absolute opposite, and it's crazy. And I know there's still but if Kamala Harris would have gone in, it'd be so much worse. Well, I doubt that. Like, as bad as it would be, she would be just an extension of Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was your worst president in your recorded history up to that point. And Trump, I got to be better at it. I can be much worse than him. Oh, I'll be the best, worst guy ever. Well, there you go. Fuck, you won. But no, the left needs to understand that, no, MAGA people did not vote for this. There are some, the evangelical types. Yes, I get that because they're nuts. But, hopefully some of them will see the light that they're, the sin that they're in as well. God does not want you to do that. God wants you to do other things. He does not want you to go and start wars for Israel or back wars for Israel. Again, these Zionist evangelicals, just listen to them. All they talk about is how you got to kill everybody in the name of Israel. It's crazy, And of course, when you hear all these Israelis, well, no, it's the Americans have dragged us into this war. Like the gaslighting is just fucking unreal. Like, like, do you really think we're going to believe you on that? Yeah. Anyway, so people reap what they sow. So sow something positive instead. Again, prep. Anything that's on the shelf right now is on sale. I get it. People are hurting. They're poor. Guilty. But we're about to see an economic storm that is going to cripple the entire fucking world because of this. It's going to start with the oil stuff. Sure. Oil affects everything. But like Trump is about to go to war with about 40 to 45 different nations. It's gonna, the flip is gonna make your head spin, and they're not just going to be all in the Middle East. I mean, there's not that many countries in the Middle East anyway. But yes, he's going to go to war with us in Canada. He's going to, he's talking about a friendly takeover in Cuba. You're going to be back to Venezuela 2.0 when the Venezuelans start to cut off the oil, saying, no, you fucked us over. You didn't pay us for, for the regime change. It's all going to fall apart. It's going to be horrible. But yeah, it's about to get really, really bad over the next couple of years. But just in the immediate, it's going to be economically bad for everybody. We're talking global collapse, which is what the bankers want so they can get their CBDCs and pivot to Asia and all that bullshit. It's all planned, guys. It's not incompetence. I know that not every one of them is competent. I get that. But at the top, they have an agenda. They don't. It's ends justify the means. Look at it like this: if you were to have a bowling lane, you grab the bowling ball and you throw it right down the lane, and it hits the pins and knocks them all down. Everybody knows who did it, right? But if you put some distractions on there, like a whole bunch of priceless china all over the bowling lane, you throw the bowling ball and it just fucking wrecks everything the whole way down, knocks all the pins down at the end. Nobody realizes the goal of the pins getting knocked down at the end. They just look at all the broken china. That's what you're looking at. The goal is to destroy humanity. The goal is to depopulate half the world. The goal is, again, these world TED Talk after TED Talk of how we got to kill everybody, in some sort of a net zero thing. Like it's the Bill Gates stuff. It's the Epstein classes. The Iranians are calling them. These people are just wicked and evil. What more can you say? Anyway, there we go. Other than that, stay safe, laugh at the chaos of it all, and have a great day.